much, Lewis, for being first. Of course I see you. You're too cute for me not to. Thank you. Hi, memes. That's all you get. I'm taking that back. I'll take that back. Keep acting up. Hi, Billy. How am I doing today? I'm doing good. Thank you so much for asking. I was debating whether or not to cancel stream today because my VTube studio was just like not working in the way that I needed it to. And I was like, damn, the time keeps going, the time keeps going. I was ready at like 8 and the time keeps going. The time just kept going and going and going, and I was like, it's 8, it's 8:30. It's 9. But I was like, well, it could just be a late night stream, who cares? It could be a late night stream, so really, who cares? Pupcats and mods. Why it is, again, doctor, hi, hello, but like, why do I have to share my love and affection with mod and chat? I don't want to share. I don't want to share with them. They get absolutely nothing. I should get 100%. Monopolize that. But anyway, we're gonna be reading Mockingjay today. And by we, I mean me. Because I'm really excited to get to the next book. I think that's what I'm really excited about. The possibilities of next books. So I was like, damn, I have to hurry up. I gotta hurry up with this one. Which I have right here in front of me, and it's really good. Love this book. We finished the first book, and I have no idea where the second book is, even though I read it. I just don't know where that book went. Oh, there it is. I was gonna say, I have all the books next to me. I don't know where that other book went. But and you get 3. I don't want you to even have the 1. I should get all 4. I don't like odd numbers. I don't like odd numbers. I like even numbers. Incorrect answer. That's why you didn't get first tonight. Incorrect answer. And wrong. But it's not my call to make. Doctor's the one that's handing them out, so it's not my call. In any case, let me read this book jacket. It's a pretty book jacket. I'm probably gonna take this off because it's actually distracting. This book jacket is mad distracting. My name is Katniss Everdeen. Why am I not dead? I should be dead. Katniss Everdeen, girl on fire, has survived, even though her home has been destroyed. Gale has escaped. Katniss's family is safe. Peeta has been captured by the Capitol. It's so good. District 13 really does exist. There are rebels. There are new leaders. A revolution is unfolding. It is by design that Katniss was rescued from the arena in the cruel and haunting Quarter Quell, and it is by design that she has long been part of the revolution without knowing it. District 13 has come out of the shadows and is plotting to overthrow the Capitol. Everyone, it seems, has had a hand in carefully laid plans, except Katniss. The The success of the rebellion hinges on Katniss's willingness to be a pawn, to accept responsibility for countless lives, and to change the course of the future of Panem. To do this, she must put aside her feelings of anger and distrust. She must become the rebels' Mockingjay, no matter what the personal cost. Now that's a fucking book jacket. Now that is a fucking book jacket. I would read that. Put that right in my cart. Put that right in my cart. So good, Suzanne Collins. Yup. It's been a hot minute since we sat down and read Catching Fire. It's been 2 months. It's been 2 months. So I actually think I should reread the last chapter because it's been a minute. I think I should reread the last chapter of the... Maybe not the last chapter. The last chapter is kind of long, isn't it? Let me see. The last chapter is a bit long. Oh no, it's not. It's not that long. I'm thinking we should just reread the last chapter so that we're gonna like go right into Mockingjay afterwards. We go right into Mockingjay afterwards. Because it has again been 2 months, so I'm like, let's just start with the last chapter. I'm not giving a quick summary, I'm just gonna read it. I'm just gonna read it even though I'm just gonna read it. So the last chapter is on chapter 27. This is Catching Fire and page 380. And I'm just gonna go for it. Actually, I'm a liar. I need to put on some lip balm because my lips aren't juicy enough for this yet. Also, is the rain like a little bit too loud for some reason? It sounds just fine to me, but it might be a little bit too loud. It might just be a little bit too loud. I can turn it down if it is. Okay. I gotta remember to get back into the groove. It's been a minute. Alright, chapter 27. Everything seems to erupt at once. The earth explodes into showers of dirt and plant matter. Trees burst into flames. Even the sky fills with brightly colored blossoms of light. I can't think why the sky is being bombed until I realize the game makers are shooting off fireworks up there while the real destruction occurs on the ground. Just in case it's not enough fun watching the obliteration of the arena and the remaining tributes. Or perhaps, to illuminate our gory ends, will they let anyone survive? Will there be a victor of the 75th Hunger Games? Maybe not. After all, what is this quarter quell but... What was it President Snow read from the card? Thank you so much for the follow, Waltiago, thank you, I very much appreciate it. I hope you're having a good day, night, wherever you are. A little bit too quiet, you say? A little bit too low? To me, it's so loud. To me, this rain is like so loud. Not in like a bad way, but I'm like, it's like so loud in my ear. I'm gonna put on a little heart in your honor. It is like so loud in my ear. Thank you for the my little meow meow. Yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you. I'll turn it up the tiniest bit, just the tiniest. That's it. That's it. But I still like you. I'm Argentine. Thank you. I no hablo inglés. It's okay. I mean, like, it is an English only chat though, so you're gonna have a bad time. You are gonna have a bad time. Okay. After all, what is this quarter quell but what was it President Snow read from the card? A reminder to the rebels that even the strongest among them cannot overcome the power of the capital. Not even the strongest of the strong will triumph. Perhaps they never intended to have a victor in these games at all. Or perhaps my final act of rebellion forced their hand. So to recap quickly, I don't like doing recaps because I'm like, well, you should just remember, but I don't like doing recaps because I'm like, let's get our memories working, people. Let's get our memories working. But I'll do a quick one just to be nice. In Catching Fire, Katniss Everdeen was placed back into the Hunger Games for the second time for the anniversary of the Hunger Games. On this specific one, they do like special. They do like some special. For like the 25th, the 50th, and the 75th, they want to do some special. What about new viewers? There's something called my VOD channel. You should go watch that. There's something called my VODs channel. You should go watch that. Or you can look up the summary for the Hunger Games if you're like, wow, I don't really feel like listening to that. Why does everything have to be catered to like one person? Not in like, that sounds really mean, but it's like, I don't know, I find that to just be like, hey, can you stop doing what you're doing and just explain to me specifically like what's happening? I feel like I'm not about to go on a rant, but I'm like, I feel like I experienced that so much more in like the last week I've been streaming, where it's like, hey, I have no idea what you're doing, but can you explain to me specifically what you're doing? And it's like, use the context clues that are available to you. It's like on the screen what I'm reading. It's like, you know, it's there, it's in the title. What are you doing ASMR? Like, I'm whispering, like I'm whispering, like, you can figure it out. I believe in your ability to figure it out. I really do. I believe in that. Anyway, let me get back to this recap. Anyway, so Katniss was thrown back into the Hunger Games for a second time, as well as Peeta. And Katniss just blew up the entire Hunger Games arena. Is essentially what just happened. She thought the whole entire arena was plotting against her, except for Peeta, because at this point, she does in fact believe that Peeta is in love with her. She's like down. She's like, oh shit, Peeta's actually in love with me. I think I'm in love with Peeta, but I don't quite know what I'm feeling because I don't have time to really be thinking about that. Because President Snow wants me dead for surviving the first Hunger Games, so I kind of don't have time to think about my own feelings right now. And she just blew up the entire arena, and she thinks that she's dead. So that's the recap. That's as short as I can make it. Yeah, I mean, like, I know when people, just to go back to that other thing, I know when people ask, like, oh, what are you doing? What's going on? It's like, they're just being nice, but I honestly find that to be a little annoying. Just for me personally, I find it to be annoying because I'm like, it's in the title, it's like stream context, like context clues, like how do you click on a stream and then you're like, what's going on? Can you stop everything to cater to what's happening for me? And it's like, actually no, the stream has been going on for I have no idea what you're saying in Spanish. Not a single idea. even say I don't speak Spanish in Spanish. That's how far it goes. I don't even know how to say it. Okay, let me finish reading. I'm like hoping you didn't say something inappropriate because then I'd have to ban you, so I'm gonna take a gamble and say you didn't do that. Take a quick gamble. Okay, that was very cute. See, sometimes you gotta take a gamble. That was very cute, thank you. That kiss was just for you. Thanks much. Muchas gracias. Okay, let me read. The loudest ice maker of all time. I'm sorry, Peta. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. Save him. More likely I stole his last chance at life, condemned him by destroying the force field. Maybe, if we had all played by the rules, they might have let him live. The hovercraft materializes above me without warning. If it was quiet, and a Mockingjay perched close at hand, I would have heard the jungle go silent, and then the birds call that precedes the appearance of the capital's aircraft. But my ears could never make out anything so delicate in this bombardment. The claw drops from the underside until it's directly overhead. The metal talons slide under me. I want to scream, run, smash my way out of it, but I'm frozen, helpless to do anything but fervently hope I'll die before I reach the shadowy figures waiting for me above. They have not spared my life to crown me victor, but to make my death as slow and public as possible. My worst fears are confirmed when the face that greets me inside the hovercraft belongs to Plutarch Heavensby, head game maker. What a mess I have made of his beautiful games, with a clever ticking clock and the feel of victors. He will suffer for his failure, probably lose his life, but not before he sees me punished. His hand reaches for me, I think to strike me, but he does something worse. With his thumb and his forefinger, he slides my eyes shut, sentencing me to the vulnerability of darkness. They can do anything to me now, and I will not even see it coming. My heart pounds so hard, the blood begins to stream from beneath my soaked moss bandage. My thoughts grow foggy. Possibly I can bleed to death before they can revive me after all. In my mind, I whisper a thank you to Joanna Mason for the excellent wound she inflicted as I black out. When I swim back into semi-consciousness, I can feel I'm laying on a padded table. There's the pinching sensation of tubes in my left arm. They are trying to keep me alive because if I slide quietly, privately, into death, it will be a victory. I'm still largely unable to move, open my eyelids, raise my head, but my right arm has regained a little motion. It flops across my body, feeling like a flipper, no. Something less animated, like a club. I have no real motor coordination, no proof that I even still have fingers. Yet, I manage to swing my arm around until I rip the tubes out. A beeping goes off, but I can't stay awake to find out who was summoned. The next time I surface, my hands are tied down to the table, the tubes back in my arm. I can open my eyes and lift my head it slightly, though. I'm in a large room with low ceilings and a silvery light. There are 2 rows of beds facing each other. I can hear the breathing of what I assume are my fellow victors. Directly across from me, I see Petey, with about 10 different machines hooked to him. Just let us die, I scream in my mind. I slam my head back hard onto the table and go out again. When I finally, truly wake up, the restraints are gone. I raise my hand, and I find I have fingers that can move at my command again. I push myself into a sitting position and hold on to the padded table until the room settles into focus. My left arm is bandaged, but the tubes dangle off stands by the bed. I'm alone except for Petey, who lies still in front of me, being sustained by his army of machines. Where are the others then? Peta, Finnick, Abanara, and one more, right? Either Joanna or Chafe or Brutus was still alive when the bombs began. I'm sure they'll want to make an example of us all. But where have they taken them? Moved them from hospital to prison? Peta, I whisper. I so wanted to protect him. I'm still resolved to. Since I failed to keep him safe in life, I must find him, kill him now before the capital gets to choose the agonizing means of his death. I slide my legs off the table and look around for a weapon. There are a few syringes sealed in sterile plastic on the table near Petey's bed. Perfect. All I'll need is air and a clear shot at one of his veins. I pause for a moment. Consider killing Petey. It's not funny, but I'm laughing because I just find this entire sequence just be very funny. It's like extremely traumatizing, but it's just very funny. Because she's like, well, I've been caught in here. I refuse to go out without a swing. But if I do, the monitors will start beeping and I'll be caught before I get to Peta. I'll promise to return and finish him off if I can. I'm naked, except for a thin nightgown. So I slip the syringe under the bandage that covers the wound on my arm. There are no guards at the door. No doubt I'm miles beneath the training center, or in some capital stronghold, and the possibility of my escape is non-existent. It doesn't matter. I'm not escaping, just finishing a job. I creep down a narrow hallway to a metal door that stands slightly ajar. Someone is behind it. I take out the syringe and grip it in my hand, flattening myself against the wall. I listen to the voices inside. Communications are down in 7, 10, and 12, but 11 has control of transportation now, so there's at least they can get some food out. Plutarch Heavensby, I think, although I've only really spoken with him once. A hoarse voice asks a question. No, I'm sorry, there's no way I can get you to form, but I've been given special orders for a retrieval if possible. It's the best I can do, Finnick. Finnick. My mind struggles to make sense of the conversation of the fact that it's taking place between Plutarch Heavensby and Finnick. Is he so near and dear to the capital that he'll be excused of his crimes? Or did he really have no idea what PT intended? He croaks out something else, something happy with despair. Don't be stupid. That's the worst thing you can do. Get her killed for sure. As long as you're alive, they'll keep her alive for bait, says Hamish. says, "Hey, Mitch." I bang through the door and stumble into the room. Hey, Mitch, Plutarch, and a very beat-up Finnick sit around a table, laid with a meal no one is eating. Daylight streams in the curved windows, and in the distance, I see at the top a forest of trees. "We are flying." "Done knocking yourself out, sweetheart," says Hamish, the annoyance clear in his voice. But as I careen forward, he steps up and catches my wrist, steadying me. He looks at my hand. "So, it's you and a syringe against the Capitol. See, this is why no one lets you make the plans." I stare at him uncomprehendingly. "Drop it." I feel the pressure increase on my right wrist until my hand is forced open, and I release the syringe. He settles me in a chair next to Finnick. Plutarch puts a bowl of broth in front of me, a roll, and slips a spoon into my hand. "Eat," he says in a much kinder voice than Hamish used. Hamish sits directly in front of me. Katniss. "I'm going to explain what happened. I don't want you to ask any questions until I'm through. Do you understand?" I nod numbly, and this is what he tells me. "There was a plan to break us out of the arena from the moment the quell was announced. The victor tributes from 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 11 had varying degrees of knowledge about it. Plutarch Heavensby has been, for several years, part of an undercover group aiming to overthrow the Capitol. He made sure the wire was among the weapons. BT was in charge of blowing a hole in the force field. The bread we received in the arena was code for the time of the rescue. The district where the bread originated indicated the day, 3, the number of rolls, the hour, 24. The hovercraft belongs to District 13. Bonnie and Twill, the women I met in the woods from 8, were right about its existence and its defense capabilities. We are currently on a very roundabout journey to District 13. Meanwhile, most of the districts in Panem are in full-scale rebellion." Hamish stops to see if I'm following. Or maybe he's just done for the moment. It's an awful lot to take in. This elaborate plan in which I was just a piece. Just as I was meant to be a piece in the Hunger Games. Used without consent, without knowledge. At least in the Hunger Games, I knew I was being played with. My supposed friends have been a lot more secretive. "You didn't tell me." My voice is as ragged as Finnick's. "Neither you nor Peta were told. We couldn't risk it," says Plutarch. "I was even worried you might mention my indiscretion with the watch during the game." He pulls out his pocket watch and runs his thumb across the crystal, lighting up the Mockingjay. "Of course, when I showed you this, I was merely tipping you off about the arena as a mentor. I thought it might be a first step towards gaining your trust. I never dreamed you'd be a tribute again." "I still don't understand why Peta and I weren't let in on the plan," I say. "Because once the force field blew, you'd be the first ones they try to capture, and the less you knew, the better," says Hamish. "The first ones? Why?" I say, trying to hang on to the train of thought. "For the same reason the rest of us agreed to die to keep you alive," says Finnick. "No, Joanna tried to kill me," I say. "Joanna knocked you out to cut the tracker from your arm and lead Brutus and Eminara away from you," says Hamish. "What?" My head aches so, and I want them to stop talking and song, the berries, the watch, the cracker, the dress that burst into flames. I am the Mockingjay, the one that survived despite the Capitol's plans, the symbol of the rebellion. It's what I suspected in the woods when I found Bonnie and Twill escaping, though I never really understood the magnitude. But then, I wasn't really meant to understand. I think of Hamish sneering at my plans to flee District 12, start my own uprising, even the very notion that District 13 could exist. Subterfuges and deceptions. And if he could do that behind his mask of sarcasm and drunkenness so convincingly and for so long, what else has he lied about? Thank you so much, Billy, for the thirsty, the Polana, and the Redamot check. I do appreciate it. I'm like locked in already. I'm like, ooh, this book is about to hit. I'm like locked in again. Every time I read this book, I'm locked in. Thanks much. I'm gonna do a quick slurp. Just a quick one because I want to finish this chapter. Thank you. And it was originally Hamish Abernathy. I know what else. Oh, I forgot my pull on it. Wait, let me do that one real quick. I'm just gonna crack my fingers against my jaw real quick. Okay. Alright. I'll do like a real pull on it next time. Alright. I know what else. Peta. I whisper, my heart sinking. The others kept Peta alive because if he died, we knew there'd be no keeping you in an alliance, says Hamish, and we couldn't risk leaving you unprotected. His words are matter of fact, his expression unchanged, but he can't hide the tinge of gray that colors his face. Where is Peta? I hiss at him. He was picked up by the Capitol along with Joanna and Evanara, says Hamish, and he finally has the decency to drop his gaze. Technically, I am unarmed. I'm trying not to laugh, but like, I just think Candace is so funny because like, that's just such a funny thing to say after somebody says something you don't like. It's like, right now I am unarmed. Technically, I am unarmed, but no one should ever underestimate the harm that fingernails can do, especially if the target is unprepared. I lunge across the table and rake mine down Hamish's face, causing blood to flow and damage to one eye. Then we are both screaming terrible, terrible things at each other. And Finnick is trying to drag me out, and all I know is it's all Hamish. It's all Hamish. It's all Hamish can do, not to rip me apart. But I am the Mockingjay. I am the Mockingjay, and it's too hard keeping me alive, as it is. Other hands help Finnick, and I'm back on my table, my body restrained, my wrists tied down, so I slam my head in fury again and again against the table. A needle pokes at my arm, and my head hurts so badly I stop fighting and simply wail in a horrible, dying animal way until my voice gives out. The drug causes sedation, not sleep, so I am trapped in a fuzzy, dully, achy misery for what seems like always. They reinsert their tubes and talk to me in soothing voices that never reach me. All I can think of is Peta, lying on a table, similar somewhere, while they try to break him for information he doesn't have. Katniss. Katniss, I'm sorry. Finnick's voice comes from the bed next to me and slips into my consciousness. Perhaps because we're in the same kind of pain. I wanted to go back for him and Joanna, but I couldn't move. I don't answer. Finnick O'Dare's good intentions mean less than nothing. It's better for him than Joanna. They'll figure out that he doesn't know anything pretty fast, and they won't kill him if they think they can use him against you, says Finnick. Like bait, I say to the ceiling. Like how they'll use Annie for bait, Finnick. I can hear him weeping, but I don't care. They probably won't even bother to question her. She's so far gone. Gone right off the deep end, years ago in our games. There's a good chance I'm headed in the same direction. Maybe I'm already going crazy and no one has the heart to tell me. I feel crazy enough. I wish she was dead, he says. I wish they were all dead, and we were too. It would be best. Well, there's no good response to that. I can hardly dispute it, since I was walking around with a syringe to kill Peta when I found them. Do I really want him dead? What I want is to have him back. But I'll never get him back now. Even if the rebel forces could somehow overthrow the capital, you can be sure President Snow's last act would be to cut Peta's throat. No. I will never get him back. So then dead is best. But will Peta know that? Or will he keep fighting? He is so strong and such a good liar. Does he think he has a chance of surviving? Does he even care if he does? He wasn't planning on it anyway. He had already signed off on his life. Maybe, if he knows I was rescued, he's even happy. Feels he's fulfilled his mission to keep me alive. I think I hate him even more than I do Haymitch. I give up. Stop speaking, responding, refuse food and water. They can pump me with whatever they want into my arm, but it takes more than that to keep a person going once she's lost the will to live. I even have a funny notion that if I do die, maybe Peta will be allowed to live. Not as a free person, but as an Avox or something, waiting on the future tributes of District 12. Then maybe he could find some way to escape. My death could, in fact, still save him. If it can, no matter. There's enough to die of spite, to punish Haymitch, who, of all the people in this rotting world, has turned Peta and me into pieces in his games. I trusted him. I put what was precious in Haymitch's hands, and he has betrayed me. I just really like that line. I've never thought about that line. I really like that line. That's a good line. That's a good couple lines. I like that line. I put what was precious in Haymitch's hands, and he betrayed me. What was precious was Peta Malark. Aw. Okay. See, This is why no one lets you make the plans, he said. That's true. No one in their right mind would let me make the plans, because I obviously can't tell a friend from an enemy. A lot of people come by to talk to me, but I make all their words sound like the clicking of insects in the jungle, meaningless and distant, dangerous, but only if approached. Whenever the words start to become distinct, I moan until they give me more painkiller, and that fixes things right up. Until one time, I open my eyes and find someone I cannot block out looking down at me. Someone who will not bleed, or explain, or think he can alter my design with entreaties because he alone really knows how I operate. Gale, I whisper. Hey, Catnip. He reaches down and pushes a strand of hair out of my eyes. One side of his face has been burned really recently. His arm is in a sling, and I can see bandages under his miner's shirt. What has happened to him? How is he even here? Something very bad has happened back home. It's not so much of a question of forgetting Peta as remembering the others. All it takes is one look at Gale, and they all come surging into the present, demanding to be acknowledged. Brim, I gasp. She's alive. So is your mother. I got them out in time, he says. They're not in District 12, I ask. After the games, they sent planes, dropped firebombs. He hesitates. Well, you know what happened to the hub. I do know. I saw it go up. That old warehouse embedded with gold dust. The whole district's covered with the stuff. A new kind of horror begins to rise up inside me as I imagine firebombs hitting the scene. They're not in District 12, I repeat, as if saying it will somehow fend off the truth. Katniss, Gale says softly. I recognize that voice. It's the same one he uses to approach wounded animals before he delivers the death blow. I instinctively raise my hand to block out his words, but he catches it and holds on tightly. Don't, I whisper. But Gale is not one to keep secrets from me. Katniss, there is no District 12. End of Book 2. So that's how Book 2 ends. That is how Book 2 ends. Katniss's home is bombed. Katniss's home is bombed. The love of her life is taken by the Capitol and is being tortured for information that he does not have. She's stuck with Gale, who's the worst character ever, thank you. And yeah, she's traumatized beyond a shadow of a doubt, and she doesn't trust anybody anymore. What else is new? What else is new? I'm gonna take this book jacket off because I actually think it's just distracting. It just does more harm than harm to me while I'm trying to read. in times of war, you only have like one shot at something, right? So like he had one shot, and they were like, we're not gonna fuck this shot up. We will do whatever it takes to make sure that this shit isn't gonna get fucked up, even if it means lying to Katniss. But also from Katniss's perspective, that's why I love this book, because I'm like, I understand where everybody's coming from. Even Gale, to an extent, even though I don't like Gale, but I understand Gale. From Katniss's perspective, she has been used. I mean, she just said it. She has been used by every single person she's ever met. She's used by even her family, who she loves very much. But she was never even allowed to be a child because her father died when she was 11. And since she was 11, she was the main breadwinner in the house because her mother became comatose. Catatonic, not comatose, but became catatonic. And basically just didn't even care if they starved. Like, they were literally starving at home, and Katniss was the one that had to figure it out. She was used by her family. She was used, I mean, to an extent. We're gonna get to Gale, but like we're gonna get to Gale in this book, but like there's so much of Gale in this book, my god. But so much of Gale. But every person, every adult in her life has always used her, and Haymitch was the one person that was supposed to understand her, and he used her too. And I just think that's sick, as in cool, so sick as in gross. Cool as in amazing for character development, amazing for character development, terrible for Katniss's mental health. Alright, so I'm gonna start Mockingjay. It's such a like good book too. Like, just as in like visually, I love the way that these books look. I think the color schemes are so good. I mean, I could genuinely spend like probably like 30 minutes just talking about the color schemes of the book. The first one being black, the second one being this beautiful red, and the third one being this beautiful powder blue. Like, I love it, I love it, I love it. I think, honestly, I genuinely, and this is like the artist inside of me, but like, I'm like, I think these also have, I mean, I haven't looked into it, but I also think that this also has importance too, because I'm like, if I just have to think about it, I'm like, okay, the first one could be black because it just feels so hopeless and dreary and terrible, and the second one is red because there's so much that happens in that second book, so many conflicts. It's like, I mean, it's also called Catching Fire, but it's like so much that happens that it's like this deep fiery red and this blue. Oh my god, don't get me started on the blue. Blue is like a calming color, but I think this is the least calm book in the entire series. This book is absolutely fucking insane, so it's almost like a 1-2 wombo combo, kind of like switcheroonie on you, where you're like, oh, you think like it's gonna have like this neat little wrap up because of this like beautiful blue. No. Anyway, no more about colors and color schemes and how they relate to book themes. Let's read the book. Part 1. The Ashes. Chapter 1. I stare down at my shoes, watching as a fine layer of ash settles on the worn leather. This is the bed I shared with my sister Prim. Over there was the kitchen table. The bricks of the chimney, which collapsed in a charred heap, provide a point of reference for the rest of the house. How else could I orient myself in this sea of gray? Almost nothing remains of District 12. Oh, I thought I was muted for a second. Wow. Okay. A month ago, the capital's fire bombs obliterated the poor coal miners' houses in the village. I don't know why exactly. Perhaps so anyone forced to come here on capital business would have somewhere decent to stay. The odd reporter, the committee assessing the condition of the coal mines, a squad of peacekeepers checking for returning refugees. Yeah, my ice machine. I was thinking about turning it off, but then I was like, there's a heat warning, so you guys are gonna hear this ice. It's a part of my ambiance. But no one is returning except me, and that's only for the brief visit. The authorities in District 13 were against my coming back. They viewed it as a costly and pointless venture, given that at least a dozen invisible hovercrafts are circling overhead for my protection, and there's no intelligence to be gained. I had to see it though, so much so that I made it a condition of my cooperating with any of their plans. Yeah, I know, most of the time you guys can't really hear any of what I hear, but unless I make a point of pointing it out, but it was making me laugh. Finally, Plutarch Heavensby, the head game maker who had organized the rebels in the capital, threw up his hands. Let her go. Better to waste a day on another month. Maybe a little tour of 12 is just what she needs to convince her we're on the same side. The same side. A pain stabs my left temple, and I press my hand against it, right on the spot where Joanna Mason hit me with a coil of wire. The memories swirl as I try to sort out what is true, what is false, what series of events led me to be standing in the ruins of my city. This is hard, because the effects of the concussion she gave me haven't completely subsided, and my thoughts still have a tendency to together. Also, the drugs they use to control my pain and mood sometimes make me see things. I guess. I'm still not entirely convinced that I was hallucinating the night the floor of my hospital room transformed into a carpet of writhing snakes. I'm laughing because, again, Kat is very funny to me. She's like, okay, so like, I have a lot of drama, and they keep giving me these drugs, and they're making me see things. I guess. I do think there were snakes on that ground. I do. I believe it. Like, Katniss has been through a war, but she's like, the snakes, that was real. Yeah. Oh, I gotta like lock in and give my I gotta lock in and then give my thoughts afterwards. I have so much to say about this first chapter. But let me lock in. Okay. I use a technique one of the doctors suggested. I start with the simplest things I know to be true, and work towards the more complicated. The list begins to roll in my head. My name is Katniss Everdeen. I'm 17 years old. My home is District 12. I was in the Hunger Games. I escaped. The capital hates me. Peter was taken prisoner. He is thought to be dead. Most likely he is dead. It is probably best if he is dead. Katniss. Should I come down? My best friend's Gale's voice reaches me through the headset the rebels insisted I wear. He's up in hovercraft, watching me carefully, ready to swoop in if anything goes amiss. I realize I'm crouched down now, elbows on my thighs, my head braced between my hands. I must look on the verge of some kind of breakdown. This won't do. Not when they're finally weaning me off the medication. wave his offer away. No. I'm fine. To reinforce this, I began to move away from my old house and in towards the town. Gil asked to be dropped off in 12 with me, but he didn't force the issue when I refused his company. He understands I don't want anyone with me today. Not even him. Some walks you have to take alone. The summer's been scorching hot and dry as a bone. There's been next to no rain to disturb the piles of ash left by the attack. They shift here and there in reaction to my footsteps. No breeze to scatter them. I keep my eyes on what I remember as the road, because when I first landed in the meadow, I wasn't careful, and I walked right into a rock. Only it wasn't a rock, it was someone's skull. It rolled over and over and landed on a face up. And for a long time, I couldn't stop looking at the teeth, wondering whose they were, thinking of mine, and how they would probably look the same way under similar circumstances. I'm telling you, this book is dark. This book is dark. This is page like 2. It just gets worse. That's all I'm gonna say. It just gets worse. Mockingjay is the book where it's like, it can actually always get worse. Actually, yeah. It can actually always get worse for you anytime you think that it's like, actually, maybe this can get better. Katniss is having a worse time than you, I promise. But like, okay, let me log in. I stick to the road out of habit, but it's a bad choice, because it's full of the remains of those who tried to flee. Some were incinerated entirely, but others, probably overcome with smoke, escaped the worst of the flames and now lie reeking in various states of decomposition. Carrion for scavengers blanketed by flies. I killed you, I think, as I pass a pile. And you. And you. Because I did. It was my arrow aimed at the chink in the force field surrounding the arena that brought on this firestorm of retribution that sent the whole country of Panem into chaos. In my head, I hear President Snow's words spoken the morning I was to begin the victory tour. Katniss Everdeen, the girl who was on fire. You have provided a spark that, left unattended, may grow into an inferno that destroys Panem. It turns out he wasn't exaggerating or simply trying to scare me. He was, perhaps, genuinely attempting to enlist my help. But I had already set something in motion that I had no ability to control. Burning. Still burning. I think numbly. The fires of the coal mines belch black smoke in the distance. There's no one left to care, though. More than 90% of the district's population is dead. The remaining 800 or so are refugees in District 13, which, as far as I'm concerned, is the same thing as being homeless forever. I know I shouldn't think that. I know I should be grateful for the way we have been welcomed. Sick, wounded, starving, and empty-handed. Still, I can never get around was instrumental in 12's destruction. This doesn't absolve me of blame. There's plenty of blame to go around. But without them, I would not have been a part of a larger plot to overthrow the Capitol, or had the wherewithal to do it. The citizens of District 12 had no organized resistance movement of their own, no say in any of this. They only had the misfortune to have had me. Some survivors think it's good luck, though, to be free of District 12 at last, to have had escaped endless hunger and oppression, the perilous mines, the lash of our final head peacekeeper, what? Romulus thread. To have a new home at all is seen as a wonder, since, up until a short while ago, we hadn't even known that District 13 existed. The credit for the survivors' escape has landed squarely on Gale's shoulders, although he's loath to accept it. As soon as the quarter quell was over, as soon as I had been lifted from the arena, the electricity in District 12 was cut. The televisions went black, and the scene became so silent. People could hear each other's heartbeats. No one did anything to protest or celebrate what had happened in the arena. Yet 15 minutes, the sky was filled with hover planes, and the bombs were raining down. It was Gale who thought of the meadow, one of the few places not filled with old wooden homes embedded with coal dust. He herded those he could in its direction, including my mother and Brim. He formed the team that pulled down the fence, just now a harmless chain-link barrier with the electricity off, and led people into the woods. He took them to the only place he could think of, the lake my father had shown me as a child, and it was from there they watched the distant flames eat up everything they knew in the world. By dawn, the bombers were long gone, the fires dying, the final stragglers rounded up, had set up a medical area for the injured, and were attempting to treat them with whatever they could glean from the woods. Gale had 2 sets of bows and arrows, 1 hunting knife, 1 fishing net, and over 800 terrified people to feed, with the help of those who were able-bodied. Yeah, these pages are stuck together. Yeah. Yeah, open. These pages are stuck together for real. They managed for 3 days, and that's when the hovercraft unexpectedly arrived to evacuate them to District 13, where there were more than enough to clean, white living compartments, plenty of clothing, and 3 meals a day. The compartments had the disadvantage of being underground. The clothing was identical, and the food was relatively tasteless. But for the refugees of 12, these were minor considerations. They were safe. They were being cared for. They were alive and eagerly welcomed. This enthusiasm was interpreted as kindness. But a man named Dalton, a District 10 refugee who had made it to 13 on foot a few years ago, leaked the real motive to me. They need you. Me. They need all of us. A while back, there was some sort of pox epidemic that killed a bunch of them and left a lot more infertile. New breeding stock. That's how they see us. Back in 10, he'd worked on some of the beef ranches, maintaining a genetic diversity of herd with the implantation, yeah, of long frozen cow embryos. He's likely right about 13 because there don't seem to be nearly enough kids around. But so what? We're not being kept in pens. We're being trained for work. The children are being educated. Those over 14 have been given entry-level ranks in the military and are addressed respectfully as soldier. Every single refugee was granted automatic citizenship by the authorities of 13. Thank you for the my little meow meow like the wind. Yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you. I'll just have to say, these books, they started in 2009. The similarities to today don't stop. It started in 2009. Like, when I think about that, when I read these books, I'm like, time is a flat circle, time is a flat circle. Like, the same shit just keeps happening and does not stop. Anyway, still, I hate them. But of course, I hate almost everybody now. Myself more than anyone. The surface beneath my feet hardens, and out of the carpet of ash, I feel the paving stones of the square. Around the perimeter is a shallow border of refuse, where the shop stood. A heap of blackened rubble has replaced the Justice Building. I walk to the approximate site of the bakery Peeta's family owned. Nothing much left but the melted lump of the oven. Peeta's parents, his two older brothers. None of them made it to 13. Fewer than a dozen of what passed for District 12's well-to-do escaped the fire. Peeta would have nothing to come home to anyway. Except me. I back away from the bakery and bump into something, lose my balance, and find myself sitting on a hunk of heated metal. I puzzle over what it might have been, then remember Thread's recent innovations of the square. Stocks, whipping posts, and this, the remains of the gallows. Bad. This is bad. It brings on the flood of images that torments me, awake or asleep. Peeta being tortured, drowned, burned, lacerated, shocked, maimed, beaten, as the Capitol tries to get information about the rebellion that he doesn't know. I squeeze my eyes shut and try to reach for him across the hundreds and hundreds of miles. Send my thoughts into his mind to let him know that he is not alone. But he is. And I can't help him. Running away from the square into the one place the fire did not destroy, I passed the wreckage of the mayor's house where my friend Madge lived. No word of her or her family. Where they evacuated to the capital because of her father's position, or left to the flames. Ashes billow up around me, and I pull up the hem of my shirt over my mouth. It's not wondering what I breathe in, but who that threatens to choke me. The grass has been scorched, and the gray snow fell here as well, but the 12 fine houses of the victor's village are unscathed. I bolt into the house I lived in for the past year, slam the door closed, and lean back against it. The place seems untouched, clean, eerily quiet. Why did I come back to 12? How can this visit help me answer the question I can't escape? What am I gonna do? I whisper to the walls, because I really don't know. People keep talking at me. Talking. Plutarch Evansby, his calculating assistant, Fulvia Cardew, mishmash of district leaders, military officials, but not all McCoy, the president of 13, who just watches. She's 50 or so, with gray hair that falls in an unbroken sheet to her shoulders. I'm somewhat fascinated by her hair, since it's so uniform, so without a flaw, a wisp, and even a split end. Her eyes are gray, but not like the people from this scene. They're very pale, as if almost all of the color has been sucked out of them. The color of slush that you wish would melt away. What they want is for me to truly take on the role they designed for me, the symbol of the revolution, the Mockingjay. It isn't enough what I've done in the past, defying the Capitol in the games, providing a rallying point. I must now become an actual leader, the face, the voice, the embodiment of the revolution, the person who the districts, most of which who are now openly at war with the Capitol, can count on to blaze the path to victory. I won't have to do it alone. They have a whole team of people to make me over, dress me, write my speeches, orchestrate my appearances. As if that doesn't sound horribly familiar. And all I have to do is play my part. Sometimes I listen to them, and sometimes I just watch the perfect line of Coin's hair and try to decide if it's a wig. Eventually, I leave the room because my head starts to ache, or it's time to eat, or if I don't get above ground, I might start screaming. I don't bother to say anything. I simply get up and walk out. Yesterday afternoon, as the door was closing behind me, I heard Coin say, "I told you we should have rescued the boy first." Meaning Peta. I couldn't agree more. He would have been an excellent mouthpiece. And who did they fish out of the arena instead? Me, who won't cooperate. PT, an older inventor from 3, who I rarely see because he was pulled into weapons development the minute he could sit upright. Literally, they wheeled his hospital bed into some top secret area, and now he only shows up occasionally for meals. He's very smart and very willing to help the cause, but it's not really firebrand material. Then there's Finnick O'Dare, the sex symbol from the fishing district, who kept Peta alive in the arena when I couldn't. They want to transform Finnick into a rebel leader as well. But first, they'll have to get him to stay awake for more than 5 minutes. Even when he's conscious, you have to say everything to him 3 times to get through to his brain. The doctors say it's from the electric shock he received in the arena. But I know it's more complicated than that. I know that Finnick can't focus on anything in 13 because he's trying so hard to see what's happening in the Capitol. To Annie, the mad girl from his district, who's the only person on Earth he loves. Despite serious reservations, I had to forgive Finnick for his role in the conspiracy that landed me here. He, at least, has some idea of what I'm going through, and it takes too much energy to stay angry with someone who cries so much. I move through the downstairs on Hunter's feet, advances, a photo of my parents on their wedding day, a blue hair ribbon for Brim, the family book of medicinal and edible plants. The book falls open to a page with yellow flowers, and I shut it quickly because it was Peta's brush that painted them. What am I gonna do? I love that, the callback to the book, because if you remember, which no one does except for me, but if you remember in Catching Fire, they actually, is it Catching Fire? Yes, no, yes. Is it Catching Fire? Now I'm forgetting. Wait, now I'm forgetting. I'm like, is it Catching Fire or was it the first book? No, it had to be. No. Is it Catching Fire or was it the first book? I think it was Catching Fire. I think it was Catching Fire, where they have like the first official date. Like they actually have a date, and it's very cute. Oh yeah, it was Catching Fire. It's the beginning of the book. I was questioning myself for a minute. It's in the beginning of the book. Well, yeah, in the beginning, before they're sent to the arena, and they actually have a very cute date. Yeah, it was so cute, where they're just like painting together. Yeah, memes. I already got it. I sorted it out before you had to type it. I went through it in my head. I had to do the timeline in my head because they also have a date. I was thinking of the other date that they had in the first book. I'm calling it a date, even though Katniss doesn't call it a date, but I'm calling it a date, because they actually have another date in the first book before Katniss ruins everything between them. The one where they hang out in the flower garden. I love the flower garden in my head. You never get to see it in the movie. I know we watched the movie on stream, but like, I wish they kept that scene in the movie. It's so upsetting to me. But they have like this cute date in a flower garden up on the rooftop in the first book, and I love that scene because it's just like Katniss being like, I think I could fall in love with this guy, or I'm probably in love with this guy, but I don't have time to think about that. I don't have time to think about that right now. I'm just gonna focus on how good this feels. And I'm like, okay, anyway, so she has like 3 like explicit quote unquote dates with him, and I just love that scene with the flowers because he's a part of her family book. It's so cute. I know Peta is like being traumatized right now, but let's not think about that. Let's not think about Peta being tortured. Is there any point to doing anything at all? My mother, my sister, and Gail's family are finally safe. As for the rest of 12, people are either dead, which is irreversible, or protected in 13. That leaves the rebels in the districts. Of course, I hate the capital, but I have no confidence that my being the Mockingjay will benefit those who are trying to bring it down. How can I help the districts when every time I make a move, it results in the suffering and loss of life? The old man who shot in District 11 for whistling, the crackdown in 12 after I intervened in Gale's whipping, my stylist Cinna, being dragged, bloody and unconscious, from the launch room before the games. Plutarch's sources believe he was killed during interrogation. Brilliant. Enigmatic, lovely Cinna is dead because of me. I push the thought away because it's impossibly painful to dwell on without losing my fragile hold on the situation entirely. What am I going to do to become the Mockingjay? Could any good I do possibly outweigh the damage? Who can I trust to answer that question? Certainly not the crew in 13. I swear now that my family and heels are out of harm's way, I could run away. Except for one unfinished piece of business. Peter. If I knew for sure he was dead, I could just disappear into the woods and never look back. But until I do, I'm stuck. I spit on my heel, the sound of it is. In the kitchen doorway, back arched, ears flattened, stands the ugliest tomcat in the world. Buttercup, I say. Thousands of people are dead, but he has survived and even looks well fed. On what? He can get in and out of the house through a window we always left ajar in the pantry. He must have been eating field mice. I refuse to consider the alternative. I squat down. Come here, boy. Not likely. He's angry at his abandonment. Besides, I'm not offering food, and my ability to provide scraps has always been my main redeeming quality to him. For a while, when we used to meet up at the old house because we both disliked this new one, we seemed to be bonding a little. That's clearly over. He blinks those unpleasant yellow eyes. Want to see Prim? I ask. Her name catches his attention. Besides his own, it's the only word that means anything to him. He gives his rusty meow and approaches me. I pick him up, stroking his fur, and then we go to the closet and dig out my game bag and unceremoniously stuff him in. There's no other way I'll be able to carry him on the hovercraft, and he means the world to my sister. Our goat, Lady, an animal of actual value, has unfortunately not made an appearance. In my headset, I hear Gil's voice telling me we must go back. But the game bag has reminded me of one more thing that I want. I sling the strap of the bag over the back of the chair and dash up the steps to my bedroom. Inside the closet hangs my father's hunting jacket. Before the Gwell, I brought it here from the old house, thinking its presence might be of comfort to my mother and sister when I was dead. Thank goodness, or it'd be ash now. The soft leather feels soothing, and for a moment, I'm calmed by the memories of spending hours wrapped up in it. Then, inexplicably, my palms begin to sweat. A strange sensation creeps up the back of my neck. I whip around to face the room and find it empty, tidy, everything in its place. There was no sound to alarm me. What then? My nose twitches. It's a smell. A cloying, an artificial smell. A dab of white peeks out of a vase of dried flowers on my dresser. I approach it with cautious steps. There, all but obscured by its preserved cousins, is a fresh, white rose. Perfect. Down to the last thorn and silken petal. And I immediately know who sent it to me. Presidents know. When I begin to gag at the stench, I back away and clear out. How long has it been there? A day? An hour? The rebels did a security sweep of Victor's village before I was cleared to come here, checking for explosive bugs, anything unusual. But perhaps the rose didn't seem noteworthy to them. Only to me. Downstairs, I snag. I snag the game bag off the chair, bouncing it along the floor until I remember signal to the hovercraft while Buttercup thrashes. I jab him with my elbow, but this only infuriates him. A hovercraft materializes and a ladder drops down. I step on, and the current freezes me until I'm lifted on board. Gale helps me from the ladder. You alright? Yeah, I say, wiping the sweat off my face with my sleeve. He left me a rose. I want to scream, but it's not information I'm sure I should share with someone like Plutarch. Looking on. First of all, because it will make me sound crazy. Like I either imagined it, which is quite possible, or I'm overreacting, which will buy me a trip back to the drug-induced dreamland I'm trying so hard to escape. No one will fully understand how it's not just a flower, not even just President Snow's flower, but a promise of revenge. Because no one else sat in that study with him when he threatened me before the victory tour. Positioned on my dresser, that white as snow rose is a personal message to me. It speaks of unfinished business. It whispers, I can find you. I can reach you. Perhaps I am watching you now. Chapter 2. I gotta do a quick stretch. Wow. I love that beginning chapter. I do. It's so good. 10 out of 10. Great way to start the book. I love that Katniss is absolutely miserable. I love that Katniss is miserable. She is mentally, like, not there. She wants nothing to fucking do with this war. She's like, I have given you people everything. I was like, and by the way, I love that they call attention to the fact that Katniss is 17, because I feel like it's really easy to, again, forget that Katniss is just, like, when this all started, Katniss was 16. It's been a year, like, literally only been 1 year. Zrixie, thank you so much for the follow. Thank you. I very much appreciate it. I hope you're having a good day, night, wherever you are. I'm gonna add on a little art just for you. It's very easy to forget that Katniss, this all happened literally a year ago. Like, it's like a year and some change, you know? And she's already been through so much trauma in that time. Like more than, I didn't even put on my eyebrow, I didn't even notice. There we go. More than like the average person would ever have to deal with, ever. So like, I just appreciate the fact that they called back, she being like, yeah, she's 17. Like, she actually should want nothing to do. She actually should want nothing to do with any of this. I support Katniss getting the fuck out of here. Except she has to wait for Peeta. Sad. Not sad because I love this for her, but sad that she can't run away to the woods like how she wants to. Anyway, let's see how this goes for Katniss in chapter 2. Are there capital hover planes speeding in to blow us out of the sky? As we travel over District 12, I watch anxiously for signs of an attack, but nothing pursues us. After several minutes, when I hear an exchange between Plutarch and the pilot confirming that the airspace is clear, I begin to relax a little. Gale nods at the howls coming from my game bag. Now I know why you had to go back. If there was even a chance of his recovery, I dumped the bag onto a seat, where the lonesome creature begins a low, deep-throated growl. Now shut up, I tell the bag, as I sink into the cushioned window seat across from it. Gale sits next to me. Pretty bad down there. Could be much much worse, I answer. I look in his eyes, and I see my own grief reflected there. Our hands find each other, holding fast to a part of 12 that snow has somehow failed to destroy. We sit in silence for the rest of the trip to 13, which only takes about 45 minutes. A mere week's journey on foot. Bonnie and Twill, the District 8 refugees who I encountered last winter, weren't so far from their destination after all. They apparently didn't make it though. When I asked about them in 13, no one seemed to know who I was talking about. Died in the woods, I guess. From the air, 13 looks about as cheerful as 12. The rubble isn't smoking, the way the capital shows it on television, but there's next to no life above ground. In the 75 years since the dark days, when 13 was said to have been obliterated in the war between the capital and the districts, almost all new construction has been beneath the Earth's surface. I cannot focus right now. There was already a substantial underground facility here, developed over centuries to either be a clandestine refuge for government leaders in a time of war, or a last resort for humanity if life above became unlivable. Most important for the people of 13, it was the center of the capital's nuclear weapons development program. During the dark days, the rebels in 13 wrested control from the government forces, trained their nuclear missiles in the capital, and then struck a bargain. They would play dead in exchange for being left alone. The capital had another nuclear arsenal out west, but it couldn't attack 13 without certain retaliation. It was forced to accept 13's deal. The capital demolished the visible remains of the district and cut off all access from the outside. Perhaps the capital's leaders thought that without help, 13 would just die off on its own. It almost did a few times, but it always managed to pull through due to a strict sharing of resources, strenuous discipline, and constant vigilance against any further attacks from the capital. I also just want to say quickly, I love this about this book because it's so realistic, but I hate the fact that we get introduced to Bonnie and Twill, and then they're like, anyway, so Bonnie and Twill probably died. You thought you'd learn more about Bonnie and Twill? Nope. They're probably dead. Anyway. It's Mockingjay is my favorite book out of the entire series. I'll probably be talking about why as we progress further into the book, but I also really appreciate the realistic depictions of not only just war but the aftermaths of war, and the fact that I don't want to spoil, but I really do appreciate the fact that it's a bittersweet ending. I like bittersweet endings, but I often feel like bittersweet endings are done badly. I think a lot of the times when people write a bittersweet ending, it's not bittersweet, it's just bitter. They don't really know how to find that good balance. But I think because Suzanne stuck to the realistic depictions of what would actually happen in this situation, it makes everything good. And also for another reason that I can't discuss right now, the bigger reason I can't discuss right now, but I will later. But I hate that. I'm like, damn, Bonnie and Will, gone. Gone. Never hear about them ever again. Hate that. Next. Now the citizens live almost exclusively underground. You can go outside for exercise and sunlight, but only at very specific times in your schedule. Also, it is a very good book. I'm that guy. Very good book. You can't miss your schedule. Every morning, you're supposed to stick your right arm into this contraption in the wall. It tattoos the smooth inside of your forearm with your schedule for the day in a sickly purple ink. 7. Breakfast. 7:30. Kitchen duties. 8:30. Education center. Room 17. And so on. The ink is indelible until 22. I was about to say 22. Until 22. Bathing. That's when whatever keeps it water resistant breaks down and the whole schedule rinses away. The lights out at 22:30 signals that everyone not on night shift should be in bed. At first, I mean, if you want to stick your dick in the tattoo arm hole, you feel free. Feel free. Couldn't be me, but it can be you. At first, I'm gonna log in, promise. I'm logging in right now. At first, when I was so ill in the hospital, I could forego being imprinted. But once I moved to the compartment 307 with my mother and sister, except for showing up to meals though, I pretty much ignore the words on my arm. I just go back to our compartment, wander around 13, or fall asleep somewhere hidden. An abandoned air duct behind the water pipes in the laundry. There's a closet in the education center that's great because no one ever seems to need to get school supplies. They're so frugal with everything here. Waste is practically criminal activity. Unfortunately, someone has to do it. No, fortunately, the people of 12 have never been wasteful. But once I saw Fluffia Cardew crumple up a sheet of paper with just a couple of words written on it, and you would have thought she murdered someone from the look she got. Her face turned tomato red, making the silver flowers inlaid on her plump cheeks even more noticeable. The very portrait of access. One of my few pleasures in 13 is watching the handful of pampered Capitol rebels squirming as they try to fit in. I think I love this book because I love this book, but I also love the contrast from 13 to the Capitol, right? Like, the Capitol has access, but in 13, it's like the exact opposite, where you can be grimed for not finishing everything on your plate. It's like, I mean, light spoilers, but it's like its own hell, one might say. It's almost like Katniss said, what was the difference? It's almost like it feels really familiar here for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know how long I'll be able to get away with my complete disregard for the clockwork precision of attendance required by my hosts. Right now, they leave me alone because I'm classified as mentally disoriented. Her name is not Catnip. It says so right on my plastic metal bracket. And everyone has to tolerate my ramblings. But that can't last forever. Neither can their patience with the Mockingjay issue. From the landing pad, Keel and I walk down a series of stairways to compartment 307. We could take the elevator, but it only reminds me too much of the one that lifted me into the arena. I'm having a hard time adjusting to being underground so much, but after the surreal encounter with the Rose, for the first time, the descent makes me feel safer. I hesitate at the door marked 307, anticipating the questions from my family. What am I gonna tell them about 12? I ask Gil. I doubt they'll ask for details. They saw it burn. They'll mostly be worried about how you're handling it. Gil touches my cheek, like I am. Okay, whatever. I press. Yikes. I press my face against his hand for a moment. I'll survive. Then I take a deep breath and open the door. I just have to say, like, I understand Gale, but like, I really, for the life of me, do not understand why he won't let this girl go. Like, I don't get it. Like, it's like, frankly, so embarrassing. Like, oh my god, she does not fuck with you, man. Like, you're so firmly in the friend zone. Like, let it the fuck go. Like, oh, it's disgusting. Like, leave it alone, leave it alone, leave it alone. He's like, I'm worried about you, and he does not stop. It's the worst part of this book. It's my favorite book, but it's the worst part of this book. Because it doesn't fucking stop. Let him cook. We're gonna find out what happens when we let Gale cook. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out what happens when we let him cook. Nothing good. Nothing fucking good. I just think it's so embarrassing. Like, when someone tells you very clearly, she's been like, Gale is family to me. Gale is like my family. Even if I married Gale, it would be like I'm marrying my brother. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with being seen as a brother? And he's still going for it. Like, yikes. It's disgusting. It's crazy. I know I talked about this in Catching Fire already. I'll get back to this book, but like, I know I talked about this in Catching Fire already, but it's insanity to me that people even consider the fact that there's like a quote-unquote love triangle in this book series, because there's definitely not. Katniss is always thinking and talking about Peeta all the fucking time. She even says, I would have run away from my family. I would have left them immediately. But it's because I don't know for sure if Peeta is alive that I have to stay here. That's the only reason why she's here. Because she's like, damn, I gotta figure out whether or not Peeta's alive, so I guess I have to stay here. Otherwise, she would have left. She does not like you. She doesn't like you. Every single chapter in like the first book ends with her thinking about Peeta. If there is no triangle, it just happens to be that Gale is there for some reason. I don't know. Yikes. Yikes, 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 yikes. Anyway. Let me lock in. I'll try not to hate on him too much. I'll try not to hate on him too much. I'll try to just, I'll let him breathe. I'll step off his neck. Then I take a deep breath. And open the door. My mother and sister are home for 1800. Reflection. A half hour of downtime before dinner. I see the concern on their faces as they try to gauge my emotional state. Before anyone can ask anything, I empty my game bag and it becomes 1800. Cat adoration. Brim just sits on the floor, weeping and rocking that awful Buttercup, who interrupts his purring only for the occasional hiss at me. He gives me a particularly smug look when she ties the ribbon around his neck. My mother hugs the wedding photo tightly against her chest, and then places it, along with a book of plans, on our government-issued chest of drawers. I hang my father's jacket on the back of a chair. For a moment, the place almost seems like home. So I guess a Toji. Ouchie. What are you doing here? Thank you so much for the follow. Thank you. I very much appreciate it. I'm gonna put a little heart in your honor. I'm gonna put a heart in your honor. Even though, you know, I don't know if you deserve one, but I'll put it on. For a moment, the place almost seems like home. So I guess the trip to 12 wasn't a complete waste. We're heading down to the dining hall for 18:30 dinner. When Gail's communicup begins to beep, it looks like an oversized watch, but it receives print messages. Being granted a communicup is a special privilege that's reserved for those important to the cause, a status Gail achieved by his rescue of the citizens of 12. They need the two of us in command, he says. Trailing a few steps behind Gail, I try to collect myself before I'm thrown into what's sure to be another relentless Mockingjay session. I linger in the doorway of command, the high-tech meeting/war council room complete with computerized talking walls, electronic maps showing the troop movements in various districts, and a giant rectangular table with control panels I'm not supposed to touch. No one noticed me though, because they're all gathered at a television screen at the far end of the room that airs the Capitol's broadcast around the clock. I'm thinking I might be able to slip away when Plutarch, whose ample frame has been blocking the television, catches sight of me and waves urgently for me to join them. I reluctantly move forward, trying to imagine how it could be of interest to me. It's always the same. War footage, propaganda, replaying the bombings of District 12, an ominous message from President Snow. So it's almost entertaining to see Caesar Flickerman, the eternal host of the Hunger Games with his painted face and sparkly suit, preparing to give an interview. Until the camera pulls back, and I see that his guest is PETA. A sound escapes me. The same combination of a gasp and a groan that comes from being submerged in water, deprived of oxygen to the point of pain. I push people aside until I am right in front of him, my hand resting on the screen. I search his eyes for any sign of hurt, any reflection of the agony of torture. There is nothing. PETA looks healthy to the point of robustness. His skin is glowing, flawless, in that full body polish way. His manner is composed, serious. I can't reconcile this image with the battered, bleeding boy who haunts my dreams. Caesar settles himself more comfortably in the chair across from PETA, gives him a long look. So, PETA, welcome back. PETA smiles, slightly. I bet you thought you'd done your last interview with me, Caesar. I confess, I did, says Caesar. The night before the quarter quell, well, whoever thought we'd see you again? It wasn't part of my plan, that's for sure, says PETA with a frown. Caesar leans into him a little. I think it was clear to all of us what your plan was, to sacrifice yourself in the arena so that Katniss Everdeen and your child could survive. That was it. Clear and simple. PETA's fingers trace the upholstered pattern on the arm of the chair. But other people had plans as well. Yes, other people had plans, I think. As PETA guessed then how the rebels used us as pawns. how my rescue was arranged from the beginning, and how finally our mentor, Hamish Abernathy, betrayed us both for a cause he pretended to have no interest in. In the silence that follows, I notice the lines that have formed between Peter's eyebrows. Has he guessed? Or has he been told? But the capital has not killed or even punished him. For right now, that exceeds my wildest hopes. I drink in his wholeness, the soundness of his body and mind. It runs through me, like the morphine they give me in the hospital, dulling the pain of the last weeks. I just have to say before we continue, that monologue reminds me of that scene in Hannibal. I could bring everything back to Hannibal because it's an amazing television show, but it reminds me of that scene in Hannibal where Hugh Grant is sitting across from the therapist and she's like, "Are you nourished by the very sight of him?" And I was like, gagged. I was like, that's a read. Absolutely nourished by the very sight of him, and that's love. I also, I'm about to cough. I also appreciate the fact, I know we talk, or at least I talk a lot about how Katniss does not realize that she's in love, right? But I actually appreciate the fact that, like, it's not called love for a while. Like, everybody around Katniss knows, and we'll get to that later in this book, but everybody around Katniss knows what it is except for Katniss. But I appreciate all of the other ways to call love without actually calling it love, because I feel like sometimes we love people without saying it. And what does that mean? What does that look like? I feel like that's hard to pinpoint, and I love all the ways that Suzanne has managed to do it in this series, in this book series. All the ways to show it, like Katniss is very much an actions-based person, and I feel like that's why I relate to Katniss a lot too, because I am not the type of person to say that I love you. I don't do that. I personally don't do that. That's not the way that I show my affection. I'm an actions person. I will show you in my actions. I will not show you in my words. So I appreciate a lot of the action-based stuff, because I feel like a lot of love in media is very words of affirmations. It's very much like, I'm gonna tell you instead of just doing something, you know? I don't know. Anyway, back to this. Lock it in, because like this next part is why don't you tell us about the night in the arena? Suggests Caesar. Help us sort a few things out. Peeta nods, but takes his time speaking. That last night. To tell you about that last night, well, first of all, you have to imagine how it felt in the arena. It was like being an insect trapped under a bowl filled with steaming air, and all around you, jungle, green and alive and ticking, that giant clock ticking away your life every hour, promising some new horror. You have to imagine that in those past 2 days, 16 people have died. Some of them defending you. At the rate things are going, the last 8 will be dead by morning. Save one, the victor. And your plan is that it won't be you. My body breaks out in a sweat at the memory. My hand slides down the screen and hangs limply at my side. Peeta doesn't need a brush to paint images from the games. He works just as well in words. Once you're in the arena, the rest of the world becomes very distant. He continues. All of the people and things you loved or cared about almost cease to exist. The pink sky and the monsters in the jungle and the tributes who want your blood become your final reality, and the only one that ever matter. As bad as it makes you feel, you're gonna have to do some killing, because in the arena you only get one wish, and it's very costly. It costs your life, says Caesar. Oh no, it costs more than your life to murder innocent people, says Peta. It costs everything you are. Everything you are, repeats Caesar quietly. A hush has fallen over the room, and I can feel it spreading across Panem. A nation leaning in toward its screens, because no one has ever talked about what it's really like in the arena before. Peta goes on. So, you hold on to your wish. And that last night, yes, my wish was to save Katniss. But even without knowing about the rebels, it didn't feel right. Everything was too complicated. I found myself regretting I hadn't run off with her earlier in the day, as she had suggested. But there was no getting out of it at that point. You were too caught up in Petey's plan to electrify the Salt Lake, says Caesar. Too busy playing allies with the others. I should have never let them separate us. Peta bursts out. That's when I lost her. When you stayed at the lightning tree, and she and Joanna Mason took the coil of wire down to the water, Caesar clarifies. I didn't want to. Peta flushes with agitation. But I couldn't argue with Petey without indicating we were about to break away from the Alliance. When that wire was cut, everything just went insane. I could only remember bits and pieces, trying to find her, watching Brutus kill Chaff, killing Brutus myself. I know she was calling my name. When the lightning bolt hit the tree and the force field around the arena blew out. Katniss blew it out, Peta, says Caesar. You've seen the footage. She didn't know what she was doing. None of us could follow Petey's plan. You can see her trying to figure out what to do with that wire. Peta snaps back. Alright. It just looks suspicious, says Caesar, as if she was a part of the rebels' plan all along. Peta's on his feet, leaning into Caesar's face, hands locked on his arms of his interviewer's chair. Really? And wasn't part of her plan for Joanna to nearly kill her, for the electric shock to paralyze her, to trigger the bombing. Now he's yelling. She didn't know, Caesar. Neither of us knew anything except that we were trying to keep each other alive. Caesar places his hand on Peta's chest in a gesture that's both self-protective and conciliatory. Okay. Okay, Peta, I believe you. Okay. Peta withdraws from Caesar, pulling back his hands and running them through his hair, musing his carefully styled blonde curls. He slumps back in his chair, distraught. Caesar waits a moment, studying Peta. What about your mentor, Amidge Abernathy? Peta's face hardens. I don't know what Amidge knew. Could he have been part of the conspiracy? Asked Caesar. He never mentioned it, says Peta. Caesar presses on. What does your heart tell you? That I shouldn't have trusted him, says Peeta. That's all. I haven't seen Hamish since I attacked him on the hovercraft, leaving long claw marks down his face. I know it's been bad for him here. District 13 strictly forbids any production or consumption of intoxicating beverages, and even the rubbing alcohol in the hospital is kept under lock and key. Ayo. I pry. Ayo. I do not know how to speak Spanish. This is an English only chat, thank you. Finally, Hamish is being forced into sobriety. With no secret stashes or homebrewed concoctions to ease his transition. They've got him in seclusion until he's tried out, and he's not deemed fit for public display. It must be excruciating, but I lost all my sympathy for Hamish when I realized how he had deceived us. I hope he's watching the Capitol broadcast now, so he can see that Peeta has cast him off as well. I'm imagining Hamish trying to drink rubbing alcohol. Doesn't he drink rubbing alcohol? Like in the second book, after they poured away all of his alcohol, they try to get him sober when they're trying to all get really fit before the games, and they pour all his alcohol down the drain and he starts drinking the rubbing alcohol. Also, if it were me and I was Peeta, I would shoot Hamish on the spot. If it were me, I'm not Peeta Malark, clearly not. I'm more Katniss coded because Peeta Malark has love in his heart and I don't. But if it were me, I would shoot him on the spot. I mean, live action Hamish. Spoilers, he doesn't do that in the movie. Spoilers. Actually, he does have a sip. Spoilers for the movie. He has one sip, like one shot. And that's it. In the second movie. Okay. Oh yeah, I was saying I think that Peeta should be allowed to shoot Hamish, at least in the arm, because Hamish is the fucking worst mentor to Peeta Malark. He is the worst mentor to Peeta Malark ever. Katniss, we're very lucky that we get it from Katniss's perspective, because Katniss is obviously Hamish's favorite. I mean, they have that conversation in the second book where Katniss is like, Hamish doesn't prefer me, and Katniss and Peeta is like, I didn't get anything in the arena. I didn't get shit. But you got stuff. You know why you got stuff? Because he decided that you were gonna stay alive and that I was gonna die. That's why. And then he did it again. He did it twice. You tried to kill me twice. I would shoot you in your arm. You tried to kill me 3 times. And it's not just like, oh, you left me for dead. You left me for dead, at the Capitol, dead. I would be so upset if I was Peeta. I would be so mad. But again, Peeta is better than me. Katniss is better than me too, because I would, the next time I see Hamish, he's getting these hands a second time. He's getting these hands a third time. He can get these hands. And again, I understand. He had no choice. But neither do my hands. My hands have to meet your face. Okay. Caesar pats Peeta's shoulder. We can stop now, if you want. Was there more to discuss? Peeta says wryly. Well, I was gonna ask your thoughts on the war, but if you're too upset, begins Caesar. Oh, I'm not upset to answer that. Peeta takes a deep breath. And then looks straight into the camera. I want everyone watching, whether you're on the Capitol or you're on the rebel side, to just stop for a moment and think about what this war could mean. For human beings, we almost went extinct fighting one another before. Now our numbers are even fewer, our conditions more tenuous. Is this really what we want to do? Kill ourselves off completely in the hopes that, what? Some decent species will inherit the smoking remains of the earth. I don't really, I'm not sure I'm following, says Caesar. We can't fight one another, Caesar, Peter explains. There won't be enough of us left to keep going if everybody doesn't lay down their weapons, and I mean, as in very soon, it's all over anyway. So, you're calling for a ceasefire? Caesar asks. Yes, I'm calling for a ceasefire, says Peter tiredly. Now, why don't we ask the guards to take me back to my quarters so I can build another 100 guardhouses? Caesar turns to the camera. Alright, I think that wraps it up. So, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Music plays them out, and then there's a woman reading a list of expected shortages in the capital. Fresh fruit, solar batteries, soap. I watch her with uncharacteristic absorption because I know everyone will be waiting for my reaction to this interview. But there is no way that I can process it all so quickly. The joy of seeing Peeta alive and unharmed, his defense of my innocence in collaborating with the rebels, his undeniable complicity with the Capitol now that he's called for a ceasefire. Oh, he made it sound as if he were condemning both sides in a war. But at this point, with only minor victories for the rebels, a ceasefire could only result in a return to our previous status, or worse. Behind me, I can hear the accusations against Peeta building, the words traitor, liar, and enemy bounce off the walls. Since I can neither join the rebels' outrage or counter it, I decide the best thing to do is to clear out. As I reach for the door, Coin's voice rises above the others. You have not been dismissed, Soldier Everdeen. One of Coin's men lays a hand on my arm. It's not an aggressive move, really, but after the arena, I react defensively to any unfamiliar touch. I jerk my arm free and take off running down the halls. Behind me, there's a sound of a scuffle, but I don't stop. My mind is a quick inventory of my odd little hiding places, and I wind up in a supply closet curled up against a crate of chalk. You're alive, I whisper, pressing my palms against my cheeks, feeling the smile that's so wide it must look like a grimace. Peeta's alive, and a traitor. But at the moment, I don't care. Not what he says or who he says it for. Only that he is capable of speech still. After a while, the door opens and someone slips in. Gale slides down beside me. his nose trickling blood. "What happened?" I asked. "I got in Boggs's way," he answered with a shrug. I used my sleeve to wipe his nose. "Watch it." I try to be gentler, not patting. Just patting, not wiping. "Which one is he?" "Oh, you know, Coin's right-hand lackey. The one who tried to stop you." He pushes my hand away. "Quit. You'll bleed me to death." The trickle has turned to a steady stream. I give up on first date attempts. "You fought with Boggs?" "No, just blocked the doorway when he tried to follow you. His elbow caught me in the nose," says Gail. "They'll probably punish you," I say. "Already have." He holds up his wrist. I stare at it uncomprehendingly. Coin took my communicup. I bite my lip, trying to remain serious, but it seems so ridiculous. "I'm sorry, Soldier Gail Hawthorne." "Don't be, Soldier Katniss Everdeen." He grins. I feel like a jerk, walking around with it anyway. We both start laughing. I think it was quite a commotion. Quite a demotion. Whoa. This is one of the few good things about 13. Getting Gail back. With the pressure of the Capitol's arranged marriage between me and Peeta gone, we've managed to regain our friendship. He doesn't push it any further, try to kiss me or talk about love. Either I've been too sick, or he's willing to give me space, or he just knows it's too cruel with Peeta in the hands of the Capitol. Whatever the case, I've got someone to tell my secrets to again. Who are these people? I say. They're us. If we had nukes instead of a few lumps of coal, he answers. I like to think 12 wouldn't have abandoned the rest of the rebels back in the dark days. I say. We might have. If it was that, surrender, or start a nuclear war, says Gail. In a way, it's remarkable they survived it all. Maybe it's because I still have the ashes of my own district on my shoes, but for the first time, I give the people of 13 something I have withheld from them. Credit for staying alive against all odds. Their early years must have been terrible, huddled in the chambers beneath the ground after the city was bombed to dust. Population decimated, no possible ally to turn to for aid. Over the past 75 years, they've learned to be self-sufficient, turned their citizens into an army, and built a new society with no help from anyone. They would be even more powerful if that pox epidemic hadn't flattened their birth weight and made them so desperate for a new gene pool and breeders. Maybe they are militaristic, overly programmed, and somewhat lacking in a sense of humor. They're here. They're willing to take on the Capitol. Still, it took them long enough to show up, I say. It wasn't simple. They had to build up a rebel base in the capital, get some sort of underground organized in the district. He says. Then they needed someone to set the whole thing in motion. They needed you. They needed Peeta too, but they seem to have forgotten that. I say. Gail's expression darkens. Peeta might have done a lot of damage tonight. Most of the rebels will dismiss what he said immediately, of course, but there are districts where the resistance is shakier. The ceasefire is clearly President Snow's idea, but it seems so reasonable coming out of Peeta's mouth. I'm afraid of Gail's answer, but I ask anyway. Why do you think he said it? He might have been tortured or persuaded. My guess is he made some sort of deal to protect you. He'd put forth the idea the ceasefire of snow let him present you as a confused, pregnant girl who had no idea what was going on when she was taken prisoner by the rebels. This way, if the districts lose, there'll still be a chance of leniency for you. If you play it right. I must still look perplexed, because Gale delivers the next line very slowly. Katniss, he's still trying to keep you alive. To keep me alive. And then I understand. The games are still on. We have left the arena, but since Peeta and I weren't killed, his last wish to preserve my life still stands. His idea is to have me lay low, remain safe, imprisoned, while the war plays out. Then neither side will really have a cause to kill me. And Peeta, if the rebels win, it will be disastrous for him. If the capital wins, who knows? Maybe we'll both be allowed to live, if I play it right, to watch the games go on. Images flash through my mind. The spear piercing Rue's body in the arena. Gale hanging senseless from the whipping post. The corpse-littered wasteland of my home. And for what? For what? As my blood turns hot, I remember other things. My first glimpse of an uprising in District 8. The victors locked hand in hand the night before the Quarter Quell. And how it was no accident, my shooting that arrow into the force field, into the arena. How badly I wanted it to lodge deep in the heart of my enemy. I sprang up, upsetting a box of 100 pencils, setting them scattering to the ground. What is it? Gale asks. There can't be a ceasefire. I lean down, fumbling as I shove the sticks of dark gray graphite back into the box. We can't go back. I know. Gale sweeps a handful of pencils and taps them on the floor into perfect alignment. Whatever reason Pete had for saying those things, he's wrong. The stupid sticks won't go into the box, and I snap several in my frustration. I know, give it here, you're breaking them to bits. He pulls the box from my hand and refills it with swift, concise motions. He doesn't know what they did at 12. If he could have seen what was on the ground. I start. Katniss, I'm not arguing. If I could hit a button and kill everyone in the capital, I would do it, without hesitation. He slides the last pencil into the box and flips the lid closed. The question is, what are you going to do? It turns out, the question that's been eating away at me has only ever had one possible answer. But it took Peeta's ploy for me to recognize it. What am I gonna do? I take a deep breath. My arms raise slightly, as if recalling the black and white wings Senna gave me, and then come to rest at my sides. I'm going to be the Mockingjay. Wow, chapter 3. Sleep demons are getting to me. Stream was fun. I'm gonna watch the VOD. Have a good rest of your night. Thank you. Very much appreciated. Have a good sleep. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna stream. I wanted to stream. Oh my god, I've only been streaming for 2 hours. I wanted to stream earlier. So I might go for like another hour. I wanted to stream earlier, but stream ended up late because I couldn't get stuff to start, so I might stream for like another hour. However much that is, I'll definitely stop. Damn, I don't know when the next part is in the book. Oh, not for a while, huh? Actually, not for a while. Damn, that's crazy. Oh, yeah, I was like, that has to be part 2. I'm probably not gonna do all of part 2 or part 1, my bad, tonight, but we'll see. Maybe I'll stop at like chapter. What chapter is this? Maybe I'll stop at like chapter 6. That's chapter 7. Yeah, chapter 6 or something. So 3 more chapters. Alright, chapter 3. We'll just have to point out that did in fact say PETA is the reason why she decided to become the Mockingjay. It all comes back to PETA. But anyway, chapter 3. Buttercup's eyes reflect the faint glow of the safety light over the door as he lies in the crook of Prim's arms. Back on the job, protecting her from the night, she snuggled close to my mother, asleep. They looked just as they did in the morning of the reaping that landed me in my first games. I have a bed to myself because I'm recuperating, and because no one can sleep with me anyway. What with the nightmares and the thrashing around. After tossing and turning for hours, I finally accept that it will be a wakeful night, under Buttercup's watchful eye. I tiptoe across the cold tiled floor to the dresser. The middle drawer contains my government-issued clothes. Everyone wears the same gray pants and shirt, the shirt tucked in at the waist. Underneath the clothes, I keep the few items I had on me when I was lifted from the arena. My Mockingjay pin, PETA's token, the gold locket with the photos of my mother and Prim and Gale inside, a silver parachute that holds a spile for tapping trees, and the pearl PETA gave me hours before I blew out the force field. District 13 confiscated my tube of skin ointment for use in the hospital, and my bow and arrows, because the only guards have clearance to carry weapons. They're in safekeeping in the armory. I feel around for the parachute and slide my fingers inside until they enclose around the pearl. I sit back on my bed, cross-legged, and I find myself rubbing the smooth, iridescent surface of the pearl back and forth against my lips. For some reason, it's soothing. A cool kiss from the giver himself. My brain. She's like, let me kiss this item that Peter Mullard gave me because this is the only way I'll be able to kiss him. Sick. Katniss. Prim whispers. She's awake, peering at me through the darkness. What's wrong? Nothing. Just had a bad dream. Go back to sleep. It's automatic. Shutting my mother and Prim out of things to shield them. Careful not to rouse my mother, Prim eases herself from the bed, scoops up Buttercup, and sits beside me. She touches the hand that curled around the pearl. You're cold. Taking the spare blanket from the foot of the bed, she wraps it around all three of us, enveloping me in her warmth and Buttercup's furry heat as well. You could tell me, you know. I'm good at keeping secrets, even from Mother. She's really gone then. The little girl with the back of her shirt sticking out like a ducktail. The one who needed help reaching for the dishes and who begged me to see the frosted cakes in the bakery window. Time and tragedy have forced her to grow too quickly, at least for my taste, into a young woman who stitches bleeding wounds and knows our mother can only hear so much. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to agree to be the Mockingjay, I tell her. Because you want to, or because you feel forced to. I laugh a little. Both, I guess. No, I want to. I have to, if it will help squeeze the pearl more tightly in my fist. It's just... Peta, I'm afraid if we do win, the rebels will execute him as a traitor. Brim thinks this over. Katniss, I don't think you understand how important you are to the cause. Important people usually get what they want. If you want to keep Peta safe from the rebels, you can. I guess I'm important. They went to a lot of trouble to rescue me. They took me to 12. You mean I could demand they give Peta immunity and they have to agree to it? I think you could demand almost anything and they'd have to agree to it. Brim wrinkles her brow. Only, how do you know they'll keep their word? I remember all the lies Haymitch told Peta and me to get us to do what he wanted. What's to keep the rebels from reneging on the deal? A verbal promise behind closed doors, even a statement written on paper. These could easily evaporate after the war. Their existence or validity denied. Any witnesses in command will be worthless. In fact, they'll probably be the ones writing out Peta's death warrant. I'll need a much larger pool of witnesses. I'll need everyone I can get. It will have to be public, I say. Buttercup gives a flick of his tail that I take as agreement. I'll make Coin announce it in front of the entire population of 13. Brim smiles. Oh, that's good. It's not a guarantee, but it will be much harder for them to back out of their promise. I feel the kind of relief that follows an actual solution. I should wake you up often, little duck. I wish you would, says Brim. She gives me a kiss. I try and sleep now, alright? And I do. In the morning, I see that 700 breakfast is directly followed by 7:30 command, which is fine, since I may as well start the ball rolling. At the dining hall, I flash my schedule, which includes some kind of ID number in front of a sensor. I slide my tray along the middle shelf before vats of food. I see breakfast is its usual, dependable self. A bowl of hot grain, a cup of milk, and a small scoop of fruit or vegetables. Today is mashed turnips. All of it comes from 13's underground farms. I sit at the table assigned to the Everdeens and the Hawthorns and some other refugees and shovel down my food, wishing for seconds, but there are never seconds here. They have nutrition down to a science. You leave with enough calories to take you to the next meal, no more, no less. Serving size is based on your age, height, body type, health, and amount of physical labor required by your schedule. The people from 12 are already getting slightly larger portions than the natives of 13 in an effort to bring us up to weight. I guess bony soldiers tire out too quickly. It's working though. In just a month, we're starting to look healthier, particularly the kids. Gale sits his tray beside me, and I try not to stare at his turnips too pathetically, because I really want more. And he's already too quick to send me his food, even though I turn my attention to a neatly folding my napkin. A spoonful of turnip slops into my bowl. You've got to stop that, I say, but since I'm already scooping the stuff, it's not too convincing. Really, it's probably illegal or something. They have very strict rules here about food. For instance, if you don't finish something and you want to save it for later, you can't take it from the dining hall. Apparently, in the early days, there was some incident of food hoarding for a couple of people like Gale and me, who have been in charge of our family's food supply for years. It doesn't sit well. We know how to be hungry, but not how to be told to handle what provisions we have. In some ways, District 13 is even more controlling than the capital. What can they do? They've already got my communicuff, says Gail. As I scrape my bowl clean, I have an inspiration. Hey, maybe I can make that a condition of being the Mockingjay. And that I can feed you turnips, he says. No, that we can hunt. That gets his attention. We'd have to give everything to the kitchen, but still, we could. I don't have to finish because he knows. We could be above ground, out in the woods. We could be ourselves again. Do it, he says. Now's the time. You could ask for the moon, and they'd have to find some way to get it. He doesn't know that I'm already asking for the moon by demanding they spare Peeta's life. Before I can decide whether or not to tell him, a bell signals the end of our eating shift. The thought of feasting Coin alone makes me nervous. What are you scheduled for? Gale checks his arm. A nuclear history class. Where, by the way, your absence has been noted. I have to go to command. Come with me, I ask. Alright. But they might throw me out after yesterday. As we go to drop off our trays, he says, you know, you better put Buttercup on your list of demands too. I don't think the concept of useless pets is well known here. Oh, they'll find him a job. Tattoo it on his paw every morning, I say. But I make a mental note to include him for Prim's sake. By the time we get to command, Coin, Plutarch, and all of their people have already assembled. The sight of Gale raises some eyebrows, but no one throws him out. My mental notes become too jumbled, so I ask for a piece of paper and a pencil right off. My apparent interest in the proceedings, the first I've shown since I've been here, takes them by surprise. Several looks are exchanged, probably because they had some extra special lecture planned for me, but instead, Coin personally hands me the supplies and everyone waits in silence while I sit at the table and scrawl out my list. Buttercup, hunting, Peeta's immunity, announced in public. This is it. Probably my only chance to bargain. Think. What else do you want? I feel him, standing at my shoulder. Gale, I add to the list. I don't think I could do this without him. The headache's coming on and my thoughts begin to tingle. I shut my eyes to start to recite silently. My name is Katniss Everdeen. I am 17 years old. My home is District 12. I was in the Hunger Games. I escaped. The capital hates me. Peeta was taken prisoner. He is alive. He is a traitor, but alive. I have to keep him alive. The list. It still seems too small. I should try to think bigger beyond our current situation where I'm of the utmost importance to the future, where I may be worth nothing. Shouldn't I be asking for more? For my family? For the remainder of my people? My skin itches with the ashes of the dead. I feel the sickening impact of the skull against my shoe. The scent of blood and roses stings in my nose. The pencil moves across the page on its own. I open my eyes, and I see the wobbly letters. I kill Snow. If he's captured, I want the privilege. Plutarch gives a discreet cough. About done there. I glance up, and I notice the clock. I've been sitting here for 20 minutes. Finnick isn't the only one with attention problems. Yeah, I say. My voice sounds worse, so I clear my throat. Yeah, so this is the deal. I'll be your Mockingjay. I wait so they can make their sounds of relief, congratulate, and slap another on the back. Coin stays as impassive as ever, watching me, an request. But I have some conditions. I smooth out the list and begin. My family gets to keep our cat. My tiniest request sets off an argument. The Capitol rebels see this as a non-issue. Of course, I can keep my pet, while those from 13 spell out what extreme difficulties this presents. Finally, it's worked out that we'll be moved to a top level, which has the luxury of an 8-inch window above ground. Buttercup may come and go to do his business. He will be expected to feed himself. If he misses curfew, he will be locked out. If he causes any security problems, he will be shot immediately. That sounds okay. Not so different to how he's been living since we left, except for the shooting part. If he looks too thin, I can slip him a few entrails, provided my next request is loud. I want to hunt with Gale out in the woods. I say. This gives everyone pause. We won't go far. We'll use our own bows. You can have the meat for the kitchen, as Gale. I hurry on before they can say no. It's just, I can't breathe. Shut up here like I would get better, faster if I could hunt. Plutarch begins to explain the drawbacks here, the dangers, the extra security, the risk of injury, but Coin cuts him off. No. I let them. Give them 2 hours a day, deducted from their training time, a quarter-mile radius, with communication units and tracker anklets. What's next? I skim my list. Gil, I need him with me to do this. With you how? Off camera, by your sides at all times. Do you want him presented as your new lover? Coin asks. She hasn't said this with any particular malice, quite the contrary. Her words are very matter-of-fact, but my mouth still drops open in shock. What? I think we should continue the current romance. A quick defection from PETA could cause the audience to lose sympathy from her, says Plutarch, especially since they think she's pregnant with his child. Agreed. So on screen, Gale can simply be portrayed as a fellow rebel. Is that alright? Says Coin. I just stare at her. She repeats herself impatiently. For Gale, will that be sufficient? We can always work him in as your cousin, says Flavia. We are not cousins. Gale and I say together, right? But we should probably keep that up for appearances on sake of camera, says Plutarch. Off camera, he's all yours. Anything else? I'm rattled by the turn in conversation. The implication that I could so readily dispose of PETA, that I am in love with Gale, that the whole thing has been an act. My cheeks begin to burn. The very notion that I'm devoting any thought to who I want presented as my lover given our current circumstances is demeaning. I let my anger propel me into my greatest demand. When the war is over, if we've won, PETA will be pardoned. Dead silence. I feel Gale's body tense. I guess I should have told him before, but I wasn't sure how he'd respond. Not when it involved PETA. No form of punishment will be inflicted, I continue. A new thought occurs to me. The same goes for the other captured tributes, Joanna and Ebenara. Frankly, I don't care about Ebenara, the vicious District 2 tribute. In fact, I dislike her, but it seems wrong to leave her out. No, says Coin flatly. Yes, I shoot back. It's not their fault you abandoned them in the arena. Who knows what the Capitol's doing to them? They'll be tried with the other war criminals and treated as the tribunal sees fit, she says. They'll be granted immunity. I feel myself rising from my chair, my voice full and resonant. You will personally pledge this in front of the entire population of 13 and the remainder of 12 soon. Today, it will be recorded for future generations. You will hold yourself and your government responsible for their safety, or you will find yourself another Mockingjay. My words hang in the air for a long moment. That's her. I hear Flavia hiss to Plutarch right there with the costume, gunfire in the background, just a hint of smoke. Yes, that's what we want, says Plutarch under his breath. I just have to pause to say, I don't remember this part in the book, but them implying that she wanted Gale as a lover is disgusting. It's making me gag, and Gale not shutting that down is also making me gag. She doesn't want you. Why are you not saying anything anyway? Like, cause you know he was in there. Like, oh my god, she fucks with me. She's talking about Peta this entire time, and the last thing on her list is Peta. Embarrassing. Yikes. I cannot stand Gil. My foot is always on his neck. I want to glare at them, but I feel like it would be a mistake to turn my attention from Coin. I can see her tallying the cost of my ultimatum, weighing it against my possible worth. What do you say, President? Asked Plutarch. You could issue an official pardon given the circumstances. The boy, he's not even of age. Alright, Coin says finally, but you better perform. I'll perform when you've made the announcement. I say, call a National Security Assembly during the reflection today. She orders, I'll make the announcement then. Is there anything left on your list, Katniss? My papers crumbled into a ball in my right fist. I flatten the sheet against the table and read the rickety letters. Just one more thing. I kill Snow. For the first time ever, I see the hint of a smile on the president's lip. When the time comes, I'll flip you for it. Maybe she's right. I certainly don't have the sole claim against Snow's life. And I think I can count on her getting the job done. Fair enough. Coin's eyes have flickered to her arm, the clock. She, too, has a schedule to adhere to. I'll leave her in your hands then, Plutarch. She exits the room. Exit. What did I just say? She exits the room, followed by her team, leaving only Plutarch, Flavia, Gale, and myself. Excellent. Plutarch sinks down, elbows on the table, rubbing his eyes. You know what I miss? More than anything. Coffee. I ask you, would it be so unthinkable to have something to wash down the gruel and turnips? We didn't think it'd be quite so rigid here, Flavia explains to us as she massages Plutarch's shoulders. Not in the higher ranks. Or at least there'd be the option of a little side action. Says Plutarch, I mean even 12 at a black market, right? Yeah, the Hob, Mrs. Gill, it's where we trade it. There, you see. And look how moral you two are. Virtually incorruptible. Plutarch sighed. Oh, well. Wars don't last forever. So glad to have you on the team. He reaches out a hand to the side where Flavia is already extending a large sketchbook, bound in black leather. You know, in general, what we're asking of you, Katniss, I'm aware you have mixed feelings about participating. I hope this will help. Plutarch slides the sketchbook across to me. For a moment, I look at it suspiciously, then curiosity gets the better of me. I open the cover to find a picture of myself, standing straight and strong in a black uniform. Only one person could have designed the outfit, at first glance. Utterly utilitarian, allows the white folds under the arms to show. In his hands, I am again the Mockingjay. Cinna, I whisper. Yes, you made me promise not to show you this book until you decided to be the Mockingjay on your own. Believe me, I was very tempted, says Plutarch. Go on. Flip through. I turn the pages slowly, seeing each detail of the uniform, the carefully tailored layers, wow. Slurring the words. The carefully tailored layers of body. That's really hard to say, carefully tailored. That's so hard to say, carefully tailored layers. Tongue twister, wow. Big tongue twister. I wing Dragon. Thank you so much for the follow. I hope you're having a good day, night, wherever you are. I do appreciate it. I'm gonna put on a little heart in your honor. Thanks much. That's a tongue twister. Wow. I'm gonna put it right here. I'm also gonna get some water because I'm like slurring my words. My avatar is cute, thank you. Thanks much. Wow. I think it's because, like, whenever I do book readings, I just get so tired. I think that's why I'm slurring my words. I'm like putting myself to sleep. Thank you for the Redemont check. I am not sitting like a Redemont though. A little bit. Just a little bit. I was. Never mind. I was sitting like an absolute Redemont. I sat up and I had like 2 inches to my height. I was sitting really bad. Okay, it's better now. A little bit better. Okay. Also, thank you for the thirsty redeem. I just drank some water. Thanks much. Thank you. And of course, I notice you have. You're too cute for me not to. Wow. I forgot where I was. I'm actually like, I feel so eepy right now. This rain. These ASMR streams might as well just be called Pupcats Put Themselves to Sleep in an hour. I'm like, wow, I am so comfortable right now. I could go to bed actually. I wasn't before I started the stream, but now I'm really comfortable. Go right to sleep right now. Okay, I don't know where I was. I got it. Page 43. Wait. Okay, now I'm ready. Now I'm ready. The carefully tailored layers of body armor, the hidden weapons and the boots and belt, the special reinforcements over my heart. On the final page, under a sketch of my Mockingjay pen, Cinna is written, I'm still betting on you. When did he? My voice fails me. Well, let's see. Well, after the Quarter Quell announcement, a few weeks before the games maybe. There are not only sketches, we have your uniforms. Oh, and BD's got something really special waiting for you down at the armory. I won't spoil it by hinting, says Plutarch. You're gonna be the best dressed rebel in history, says Gail with a smile. And suddenly, I realize he's been holding on to me, like Cinna. He's wanted me to make this decision all along. Our plan is to launch an airtime assault, says Plutarch, to make a series of what we call propos, which is short for propaganda shots featuring you, and broadcasts them to the entire population of Panem. Ow. The capital has sole control of the broadcast, says Gale. But we have Petey. About 10 years ago, he essentially redesigned the underground network that transmits all the programming. He thinks there's a reasonable chance it can be done. Of course, we'll need something to air. So Katniss, the studio awaits your pleasure. Plutarch turns to his assistant. Flavia. Plutarch and I have been talking about how on Earth we can pull this off. We think that it might be best to build you, our rebel leader, from the outside in. That is to say, let's find the most stunning Mockingjay look possible, and then work your personality up to deserving it, she says brightly. You already have her uniform, says Gale. Yes, but is she scarred and bloody? Is she glowing with the fire of rebellion? Just how grimy can we make her without disgusting people? At any rate, she has to be something. I mean, obviously this. Flavia moves in on me quickly, framing my face with her hands. Won't cut it. I jerk my head back reflexively, but she's already busy gathering her things. So, with that in mind, we have another little surprise for you. Come. Flavia gives us a wave, and Gale and I follow her, Plutarch out into the hall. So, well intended, yet so insulting, Gale whispers in my ear. Come to the capital. I mouth back, but Flavia's words have no effect on me. I wrap my arms tightly around the sketchbook and allow myself to feel hopeful. This must be the right decision if Cinna wanted it. We board an elevator and Plutarch checks his notes. Let's see, it's compartment 3908. He presses a button marked 39, but nothing happens. You might have to key it, says Flavia. Plutarch pulls a key attached to a thin chain from under his shirt and inserts it into a slot I hadn't noticed before. The door slides shut. Ah, there we are. The elevator descends 10, 20, 30 plus levels far further down than I even knew District 13 went. It opens in a wide, white corridor lined with red doors, which look almost decorative compared to the gray ones on the upper floors. Each is easily and plainly marked with a number. 3901, 3902, 3903. As we step out, I glance behind me to watch the elevator close and see a metallic grate slide into place over the regular doors. When I return, a guard has materialized from one of the rooms at the far end of the corridor. A door swings silently shut behind him as he strides toward us. Plutarch moves to meet him, raising a hand in greeting, and the rest of us follow behind him. Wow, something feels very wrong down here. It's more than the reinforced elevator or the claustrophobia of being so far underground, or the caustic smell of antiseptic. One look at Gale's face, and I can tell he senses it as well. Wow. I'm like losing it. Good morning. We're just looking for, Plutarch begins. You have the wrong floor, says the guard abruptly. Really? I've got 3908 written right here. I wonder if you could just give a call up to... I'm afraid I have to ask you to leave now. Assignment discrepancies can be addressed to the head office, says the guard. It's right ahead of us. Compartment 3908. Just a few steps away. The door. In fact, all the doors seem incomplete. No knob. They must swing free on hinges like the one the guard appeared through. Where is that again? Asked Flavia. You'll find the head office on level 7, says the guard, extending his arms to corral us back to the elevator. From behind the door, 3908, comes a sound, just a tiny whimper, like something a coward dog might make to avoid being struck, only all too human and familiar. My eyes meet Gil's for just a moment, but it's long enough for two people who operate the way we do. I let Cinna's sketchbook fall at the guard's feet with a loud bang. A second after he leans down to retrieve it, Gil leans down too, intentionally bumping heads. Oh, I'm sorry, he says with a light laugh, catching the guard's arms as if to steady himself, turning him slightly away from me. There's my chance. I dart around the distracted guard, push open the door marked 3908, and find them, half naked, bruised, and shackled to the wall, my prep team. I have like one chapter left in me. I'm losing it. I'm actually very EP. This is the EPS I've ever been while reading this book. While reading Hunger Games book. I have one chapter left in me. That's it. We're gonna read chapter 4 and then I'm out. I'm going to bed. I don't know why I'm so tired, honestly and truly. Oh my god, I was wondering. I was like, is chapter 4 really that long? What the fuck? I was looking to see how long chapter 4 was. It feels fucking huge. What the hell? Chapter 4 is massive. No, it's really not. Actually gonna put the sleeve back on so I know where to stop. I don't want to go back on my word because I'm always saying I'm gonna stop here and then I actually don't stop. I just keep reading. Alright, let me see. Oh, here we go. Alright. What the fuck? Just mess with the book and now I've lost my place. Hold up. I think this is fine. No, it's not. I was about to say this is perfectly fine, and then I immediately lost my place. Alright, we're good. We have chapter 4, and then Pup is gonna go to sleep because I read that extra chapter from Catching Fire. I was wondering why I'm so EP. And I've only read like 4 chapters because I read Catching Fire to recap everything. Okay. Chapter 4. Trigger warning for prisoners of war. Trigger warning. I don't know why I never provided trigger warning because I'm like, it's called the Hunger Games. I mean, like, what do you think is gonna happen in it? It's gonna be bad stuff. Hunger Games, war, murder, death. So I never provided trigger warning, but I'm like, prisoner of war trigger warning, I guess. Page 47. The stink of unwashed bodies, stale urine, and infection breaks through the cloud of antiseptic. The 3 figures are only just recognizable by their most striking fashion choices. Venia's gold facial tattoos, Flavius's orange corkscrew curls, Octavia's light evergreen skin, which now hangs too loosely, as if her body were slowly deflating, like a balloon. On seeing me, Flavius and Octavia shrink back against the towel walls, like they're anticipating an attack, even though I have never heard them. Unkind thoughts were my worst defense against them, and those I kept to myself, so why do they recoil? The guards ordering me out by the shuffling that follows, I know Gale has somehow detained him. For answers, I crossed to Venia, who was always the strongest. I crouch down, and I take her icy hands, which clutch mine like vices. What happened, Venia? I ask. What are you doing here? They took us. From the capital, she says hoarsely. Plutarch enters behind me. What on earth is going on? Who took you? I press her. People. She says vaguely the night you broke out. We thought it might be comforting for you to have your regular team. Plutarch says behind me. Cinna requested it. Cinna requested this. I snarl at him. Because if there's one thing I know, it's that Cinna would never have approved of the abuse of these three. We manage with gentleness and patience. Why are they being treated like criminals? I don't know. I don't know. There's something in his voice that makes me believe him. And the pallor on Fluvia's face confirms it. Thank you for the Reddit mod check. I am not sitting like a Reddit mod. Maybe a little bit. Plutarch turns to the guard, who just appeared in the doorway with Gale right behind him. I was only told they were being confined. Why are they being punished? For stealing food. We had to restrain them after an altercation over some bread, says the guard. Venia's brows come together as if she's still trying to make sense of it. No one would tell us anything. We were so hungry. It's just the one slice she took. Octavia begins to sob, muffling the sound in her ragged tunic. I think of how the first time I survived the arena, Octavia sneaked me a roll under the table because she couldn't bear my hunger. I crawl over to her shaking form. Octavia. I touch her, and she flinches. Octavia, it's going to be alright. I'll get you out of here, okay? This seems extreme, says Plutarch. It's because they took a slice of bread. Ask Gil. There were repeated infractions leading up to that. They were warned. They still took more bread. The guard pauses a moment, as if puzzled by our destiny. You can't take bread. I can't get Octavia to uncover her face, but she lifts it slightly. The shackles on her wrists shift down a few inches, revealing raw sores beneath them. I'm bringing you to my mother. I address the guard. Unchain them. The guard shakes his head. It's not authorized. Unchain them now. Now. I yell. This breaks his composure. Average citizens don't address him this way. I have no release orders, and you have no authority to do it on my authority, says Plutarch. We came to collect these three anyway. They're needed for special defense. I'll take full responsibility. The guard leaves to make a call. He returns with a set of keys. The preps have been forced into cramped body positions for so long that even once the shackles are removed, they have trouble walking. Gale, Plutarch, and I have to help them. Flavius' foot catches on a metal grate over a circular opening in the floor, and my stomach contracts. When I think of why a room would need a drain, the stains of human misery that must have been hosed off these white tiles. In the hospital, I find my mother, the only one I trust to take care of them. I just have to say too, it's like, again, scenes that I wish were in the movies that are not in the movies. I know why they're not in the movies, but like, because there's actually just not enough time. Because I mean, they split up Mockingjay into 2 movies, and they still didn't include anything that was. They didn't include enough, frankly. They didn't include enough, and also it was too much. Somehow it's too much, and also not enough at the same time. But it's like, up until this point, we're supposed to think that, like, these are the good guys. Like, oh, they rescued us. These are the good guys. Why is Katniss being like this? And then you're like, underground torture facility. And then you're like, what the fuck? Underground torture facility. Doesn't that seem like a thing the Capitol would do? mission, but already she wears a look of consternation. Wow, I can never say that word. Consternation. Wow, tears me up. And I know it's not a result of seeing abused bodies, because they were our daily fare in District 12. But the realization that this sort of thing goes on in District 13 as well. My mother was welcomed into the hospital, but she's viewed more of a nurse than a doctor, despite her lifetime of healing. Still, no one interferes when she guides the trio into an examination room to assess their injuries. I plant myself on a bench in the hall outside the hospital entrance, waiting to hear her verdict. She will be able to read in their bodies the pain inflicted upon them. Gail sits next to me and puts an arm around my shoulders. She'll fix them up. I give a nod, wondering if he's thinking about his own brutal flogging back in 12. Plutarch and Flavia take a bench across from us, but I don't offer any comments on the state of my prep team. If they had no knowledge of the mistreatment, then what did they make of this move on Coin's part? I decide to help them out. I guess we've all been put on notice, I say. What? No, what do you mean? Asks Flavia. Punishing my prep team's a warning, I tell her. Not just to me, but to you too, about who's really in control. And what happens if she's not obeyed. If you had any delusions about having power, I'd let them go now. Apparently, a capital pedigree is no protection here. Maybe it's even a liability. There is no comparison between Plutarch, who masterminded the rebel breakout, and those three beauticians, says Flavia icily. I shrug. If you say so, Flavia. But what would happen if you got on Coin's bad side? My prep team was kidnapped. They can at least hope to one day return to the capital. Gail and I can live in the woods. But you, where would you to run? Perhaps we're a little more necessary to the war effort than you give us credit for, says Plutarch, unconcerned. Of course you are. The tributes were necessary to the games too, until they weren't, I say. And then we were very disposable, right, Plutarch? That ends the conversation. We wait in silence until my mother finds us. They'll be alright, she reports. No permanent physical injuries. Good. Splendid, says Plutarch. How soon can they put to work? Probably tomorrow, she answers. You'll have to expect some emotional instability after what they've been through. They were particularly ill-prepared coming from their life in the capital. Weren't we all, says Plutarch, either because the prep team's incapacitated or I'm too on edge. Plutarch releases me from my Mockingjay duties for the rest of the day. Gail and I head down to lunch, where we're served bean and onion stew, a thick slice of bread, and a cup of water. After Venia's story, the bread sticks in my throat, so I slide the rest of it onto Gail's tray. Neither of us speak much during lunch, but when our bowls are clean, Gail pulls up his sleeve, revealing his schedule. I've got training next. I tuck up my sleeve and hold my arm next to his. Me too. I remember that training equals hunting now. My eagerness to escape the woods, if only for 2 hours, overrides my current concerns. An immersion into greenery and sunlight will surely help me sort out my thoughts. Okay. Once off the main corridors, Gail and I race like school children for the armory, and by the time we arrive, I'm breathless and dizzy, a reminder that I'm not fully recovered. The guards provide our old weapons, as well as knives in a burlap sack that's meant for a game bag. I tolerate having the tracker clamped to my ankle, try to look look as if I'm listening when they explain how to use the handheld communicator. The only thing that sticks in my head is it has a clock, and that we must be back inside 13 by the designated hour, or our hunting privileges will be revoked. This is the one rule I think I will make an effort to abide. We go outside into a large, fenced-in training area beside the woods. The guards open the well-oiled gates without comment. We would be hard-pressed to get past this fence on our own, 30 feet high and always buzzing with electricity, topped with razor-sharp curls of steel. We move through the woods until the view of the fence has been obscured. In a small clearing, we pause and drop back our heads to bask in the sunlight. I turn in a circle, my arms extended on my sides, revolving so as not to set the world spinning. The lack of rain I saw in 12 has damaged the plants here as well, leaving some with brittle leaves, building a crunchy carpet under our feet. We take off our shoes. Mine don't fit right anyway, since the spirit of waste not want. Not that appears. In the rules of 13, it was issued a pair someone had outgrown. Apparently, one of us walks funny because they're broken in all wrong. We hunt like the old days, silent, needing no words to communicate, because here in the woods we move as two parts of one being, anticipating each other's movements, watching each other's backs. How long has it been? 8 months, 9 since we had this freedom. It's not exactly the same, given all that's happened and the trackers on our ankles and the fact that I have to rest so often, but it's about as close to happiness as I think I can currently get. The animals here are not nearly suspicious enough. That extra moment it takes to place our unfamiliar scent means their death. In about an hour and a half, we got a mixed dozen: rabbits, squirrels, and turkeys, and decide to knock off to spend the remaining time by a pond that must be fed by an underground spring because the water's cool and sweet. When Gail offers to clean the game, I don't object. I stick a few mint leaves on my tongue, close my eyes, and lean back against a rock, soaking in the sounds, letting the scorching afternoon sun burn my skin. Almost at peace until Gail's voice interrupts me. Katniss, why do you care so much about your prep team? I open my eyes to see if he's joking, but he's frowning down at the rabbit he's skinning. Why shouldn't I? Let's see. Because I've spent the last year breeding you up for slaughter, he suggests. It's more complicated than that. I know them. They're not evil or cruel. They're not even smart. Hurting them, it's like hurting children. They don't even see. They don't know. I get knotted up in my words. They don't know what Katniss, he says. The tributes, who are the actual children involved here, not your trio of freaks, are forced to fight to the death. That you were going into that arena for people's amusement. Was that a big secret in the capital? No. But they don't view it how we do. I say they're raised on it, and are you actually defending them? He slips the skin from the rabbit in one quick move. That stings. Because in fact I am, and it's ridiculous. I struggle to find a logical position. I guess I'm defending anyone who's treated like that for taking a slice of bread. Maybe because it reminds me too much of what happened to you over a turkey. Still, he's right. It does seem strange, my level of concern over the prep team. I should hate them and want to see them strung up, but they're so clueless, and they belong to Cinna, and he was on my side, right? I'm I'm not looking for a fight, says Gail. But I don't think Coin was sending you some big message by punishing them for breaking the rules here. She probably thought you'd see it as a favor. He stuffs the rabbit in the sack and rises. We better get going if we want to make it back on time. I ignore his offer of a hand up to get my feet, and to get back up to my feet unsteadily. Fine. Neither of us talks on the way back, but once we're inside the gate, I think of something else. During the quarter quell, Octavia and Flavia had to quit because they couldn't stop crying over me going back in, and Venia could barely say goodbye. I'll try to keep that in mind as they remake you, says Gail. Do, I say. We hand the meat over to Greasy Say in the kitchen. She likes District 13 well enough, even though she thinks the cooks are somewhat lacking in imagination. But a woman who came up with a palatable wild dog and a rhubarb stew is bound to feel as if her hands are tied here. Exhausted from hunting and my lack of sleep, I go back to my compartment to find it stripped bare, only to remember we've been moved because of Buttercup. I make my way up to the top floor and find compartment E. It looks exactly like compartment 307, except for the window, 2 feet wide, 8 inches high, centered at the top of the outside wall. There's a heavy metal plate that fastens over it, but right now it's propped open, and a certain cat is nowhere to be seen. I stretch out on my bed, and a shaft of afternoon sunlight splays on my face. The next thing I know, my sister is waking me for 1800. Reflection. Brim tells me they've been announcing the assembly since lunch. The entire population, except those needed for essential jobs, is required to attend. We follow directions to the collective, a huge room that easily holds thousands who show up. You can tell it was built for a larger gathering, and perhaps it held one before the pox epidemic. Brim quietly points out the widespread fallout from that disaster. The pox scars on people's bodies, the slightly disfigured children. They've suffered a lot here. She says, after this morning, I'm in no mood to feel sorry for 13. No more than we did in 12, I say. I see my mother leading a group of mobile patients, still wearing their hospital gowns and robes. Finnick stands among them, looking dazed, but gorgeous. In his hands, he holds a piece of thin rope, less than a foot in length, too short for him to even fashion into a usable noose. His fingers move rapidly along, automatically tying and unraveling various knots as he gazes about, probably part of his therapy. I cross to him and say, "Hey, Finnick." He doesn't seem to notice, so I nudge him to get his attention. "Finnick, how are you doing?" "Katniss," he says, gripping my hand, relieved to see a familiar face, I think. "Why are we meeting here?" I told Coin I'd let her be our Mockingjay, but I made her to promise to give the other tributes immunity if the rebels won. I tell him, in public, so there's plenty of witnesses. Oh, good. Because I worry about that with Annie, that she'll say something that could be construed as traitorous without knowing it, says Finnick. Annie. Uh-oh. I totally forgot about her. Don't worry. I took care of it. I give Finnick's hand a squeeze, and head straight for the podium. In front of the room, Coin, who was glancing over her statement, raised her eyebrow at me. "I need you to add Annie Cresta to the immunity list," I tell her. The president frowns slightly. "Who's that?" "She's Finnick O'Dares." "What?" I really don't know what to call her. "She's Finnick's friend from District 4, another Victor. She was arrested and taken to the Capitol when the arena blew that frail. I think of the scene I walked in on this morning, of Octavia huddled against the wall, of how Coin and I must have vastly different definitions of frailty. But I only say, no. Then it shouldn't be a problem to add Annie. Alright, says the president, penciling in Annie's name. Do you want to be up here with me for the announcement? I shake my head. Didn't think so. Better hurry and lose yourself in the crowd. I'm about to begin. I make my way back to Finnick. Words are another thing not to be wasted in 13. Coin calls the audience to attention and tells them I have consented to be the Mockingjay, provided the other victors, Peta, Joanna, Ebenara, and Annie, will be granted full pardon for any damage they do to the rebel cause. In the rumbling of the crowd, I hear the dissent. I suppose no one doubted I would want to be the Mockingjay, so naming a price, one that spares possible enemies, angers them. I stand indifferent to the hostile looks thrown my way. The president allows a few moments of unrest, and then continues in a brisk fashion. Only now the words coming out of her mouth are news to me. But in return for this unprecedented request, Soldier Everdeen has promised to devote herself to our cause. It follows that any deviance from her mission, in either motive or deed, will be viewed as a break in this agreement. The immunity would be terminated, and the fate of those 4 victors determined by the law of District 13, as would her own. Thank you. In other words, I step out of line, and we're all dead. And that's the end of chapter 4. It's good. That's the end of chapter 4. It's so good. I love the Hunger Games. I wish I wasn't EP tired right now because I absolutely just love the Hunger Games. Oh wow, is that my collarbone that just snapped? Is that my collarbone that just broke just then? Whoa, that's super loud. Shh. That was super loud. Don't know what that was so loud. But yeah, I love the Hunger Games. So good. I am so EP right now. I'm so sleepy. I was feeling it. I was feeling it so heavily in chapter 3. I don't know why, because I know the minute that I go rest, I'm gonna be up for the rest of the night, but for some reason it's just like calling out to me right now. But oh my gosh, I'm going to head off to bed, and I'm gonna pick up with the next chapter. I don't know when I stream again. I don't know when I'm gonna stream again. When I stream again, I have no idea when I'm gonna stream again. I mean, I do. I'm gonna stream tomorrow, but I just don't know when I'm gonna stream ASMR. I don't know when I'm gonna do that again. Question mark. Thanks for the thirsty redeem. I'm not drinking water. I have to be so bad. Thanks for the red emoji check. I'm not doing that either because I'm gonna get up and go pee. I'm gonna get up and go pee. Thank you. But I do appreciate all the redeems. Yeah, I'm just tired. I don't know what it is. Like, I think just ASMR stream just made me EP. I wish I could have started earlier because, like, I don't know why I'm so EP. Candace Everdeen is putting me right to sleep. But I do appreciate all the redeems back. Thank you. Thanks much. Maybe I'll have a sip of water. I don't really want water. I want soda. I don't actually want water. I want soda. I want soda pop. But I am going to end stream. I'm gonna end stream right here because I don't want to ruin the vibes. Because I don't want to ruin the vibes right here. So I don't want to switch over to my other screen because it's gonna be loud. screen is gonna be loud, so I don't want to do that, so that everybody, you know, gets scared. But thank you to everybody that tuned in to stream today. It's kind of a shorter stream. Actually, it's been like 3 hours, so I don't know. Depends on who you ask, on whether or not that's short. It's short for me. It's short for me because I usually stream like 5 hours, so I probably would have gone like, yeah, 2 more hours. But I just feel so EP. I don't know what it is. So I'm gonna raid Wash. I'm gonna raid Nick, who's doing an art stream, because I like to raid other artists. And they're doing emotes, and I think that's cute. But yeah, thank you to everybody joining the stream today. Your time is valuable, and I do appreciate that you spent it with me. I'll be back tomorrow. I don't know if I'm doing ASMR. I'll just be back tomorrow doing something, probably. And yeah, if no one's told you today, you are in fact loved, and you're so valued and appreciated in this world. I might be back tomorrow doing ASMR. I don't know, it's whatever the vibes are. Maybe I'll do ASMR Friday instead of tomorrow and do something else. Who knows? But you're loved, you're valued, and appreciated. I just got here. Yeah, I'm so EP right now. I'm done for the night. I'm done for the night. I'll be back tomorrow. So yeah, if no one's told you, you're loved, you're valued, and appreciated. And I'm so happy I get to tell you, because you should hear that every single day of your life. And as always, until next time, goodbye. Bye 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 bye. Bye bye bye. Good night, good night, good night. Goodbye. I hit the button. I forgot to say I don't do raid messages, because I don't. Because I don't do raid messages, but I'm ending the stream anyway. after I hit the raid button. Okay, now I'm ending the stream.